Wake up, gamers, because you're listening to the Big Think Dimension with Dan and Bob Video Games. Jim Ryan is out. How should we celebrate?
Subs?
Chris Wolfhard.
I love tolerating you.
And Dr. Aggro.
Many people lost their jobs this week. Guess which one I'm not sad about?
Here on GigaBoots. I assume your empathy is completely universal.
Oh yeah, no, like statistically, it's mostly, totally, almost all the way for all of them.
Wow, that's crazy.
It is within the margin of error, the number of people I am not sad about having lost their jobs.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Big Think Dimension number 241. Jim Ryan's out.
It's over.
That was like every person associated with us, if they were streaming, just people rushing in like the Agent Smith fight, the Burley Brawl.
Right.
People for hours just like, did you know?
Morpheus is fighting Neo.
Right, exactly.
The only sad part about Jim Ryan being out is we now have to consider, as we've spoken so many times, that like Sony, what games are coming out after Spider-Man 2? We literally don't know any. They're not. What if they were just all those service things that are fucked? There are no games. We're gonna have like an Xbox tier 3 years while they desperately try and scab together games.
We have to wonder if that's what's been happening behind the scenes that led to Jim finally getting retired. Because one thing's for sure, none of those games as a service game sound like they're doing great.
Right.
That it's just news after news after news of Bungie told us to kill them all.
Right. And every time we hear about them, it's like, it's not ready. We can't show it. We made a CG trailer instead of actually showing you what the game was.
That's a better end. Right. That's the optimum outcome so far for these games as a service games. The one with the Call of Duty guy sounds like it's fucking dead.
Yep, can't wait to see the 2.5 of these games they ship out of the total lineup.
Yeah, like what did they announce? Like 8?
We ship 25% of them, and it's like, so are they gonna succeed? And they're like, no. Whoa. But that's news. We don't do news first.
No.
But it was so good we had to. It was like, are we really going to sit here for the next hour and not touch this delicious cake that's sitting in the room? There was no way. There was no way we were going to do that. So at least we didn't jump ahead on the other news. For people who don't know, somehow, let me go ahead and tell you what the last week has been like for Bob and myself. You know, sometimes Bob and I come in here and we talk about a couple games, maybe a few. It's usually a lot. But last Friday, we were like, we're going to go live with a 13th anniversary stream. And we've done those before, but they were very moderate, very casual. And this time was different. This time we were like, well, we want to leave Florida, and it would really help us out enormously if we did some sort of fun donathon to go with that.
Right.
And then chat cast a spell and trapped us in the hour 92 forever.
Some say it's even hour 92 still.
Close. For people who've never experienced a donathon before, the idea is bits, donations, and subs all go towards making the timer go up. So when we started this last Friday, we had a very low-hanging goal in retrospect. And Tosh was like, man, I sure hope chat gets to order you that pizza. And I'm like, I'm going to feel really bad if Tosh doesn't get to see this nightmare. Now that I've eaten it, no. But I was like, hopefully we can hit that. And everyone knocked it out of the park and trapped us in the infinite hour 89 to 92 for the entire last week. So we've been live every day playing different games of different qualities of different eras. We're going to go ahead and go chronologically. And reminder, The VODs for all of these are up over on our VOD archive, which I believe is gigavods.com. That should bring you directly to it. Except for Spec Ops, because a Jimi Hendrix song plays for 20 seconds on the title screen. Thanks, Jimmy. Let's get to it, though. Bob and I played Mighty Number 9. Except for this time, it was 99% Bob playing Mighty Number 9.
Yes.
Any epiphanies on this playthrough?
No, it's still Mighty Number 9. It's not getting any better or worse.
You sure it didn't like improve in some way? Hindsight's 2020. Maybe the game was good, actually.
It definitely wasn't that.
Okay. Well, that was a thing. And then people started hitting goals immediately. The Mighty Number 9 one actually was our first goal. It was for 100. So we got to play 3 races in Mario Kart before we had to play Mario Kart 64 specifically, before we had to play Mighty Number 9. But we beat that, and then we moved on to Super Cream 64. That game's awesome. I didn't stream it the first time I played it, and I played it so many versions ago. Everything has been ramped up. There's so much new content there, entirely new levels and things. And a billion costumes.
Yeah. Like 64 costumes, I think.
Yeah, more than, actually. Absolutely nuts. I love that fucking mod. For people who don't know what it is, it inserts Cream the Rabbit into Mario 64, giving her unreasonable scales of power. She is able to do a side jump into a wall, jump off, and then start flying, slam into the wall, then jump off and start flying, and then slam into the wall and jump. So, some stars, if you're a Mario 64 savant, you can get in 7 seconds.
Yeah.
It's so
That's
good.
Most of them.
Right? It's delightful.
Me, who has never gotten 120 stars in base Mario 64 ever.
Oh, wow.
Got 120 stars in this before the cheat to let you just get the 100 coin stars was in.
Yeah,
in like less than 4 hours.
For anyone, yeah. It's real good. For anyone who's playing it and just wondering what the cheat is, it's Abazaza. So just type that in and you get it gives you 99 coins. It goes, that's right, we're gonna cheat.
Yes,
which is fantastic.
But it's pretty fun to go into Rainbow Ride and go, I don't fucking have to stand on any of this moving shit.
Yeah, fuck this.
Who do you think I am?
And do you know who I am? I'm Cream the fucking Rabbit.
And I think when I played, I didn't even know that you can exit the long jump state to fly from that, which would have made it even easier.
Yeah. It's absolutely delightful. I fucking love that mod. That is my favorite fan game / mod for a game ever. Easily. It's not even close. I could probably sit here and gush about it for a very long time, but there's just so much love in it, and so many outfits with custom sounds even.
Oh yeah,
like Dudley. When you beat the level with Dudley. Yeah. Oh man, from Street Fighter 3 for people who aren't Dudley pilled. Absolutely incredible. Highly recommended. Then we played Mortal Kombat 1 on the Switch.
Why? Why'd they do this?
I don't know. They should get suited to the ground.
They should.
How did nobody at NetherRealm look at this and go, guys, we're not putting this out?
They can't
I
afford
assume WB forced them.
Right, because WB can't eat the cost of having a developer make a really bad version of a game and just cancel it. Mm-hmm. Heavens no. They have to release for $70 the roughest last gen port since Mordor?
Maybe it's probably worse than that. Who knows?
Right. It does seem like
Mordor was fucking bad. This seems as bad, if not worse.
Yeah, that's the impression I have too, based on everything I've seen and heard about Mordor. It's completely insane.
And they previously canceled project like this, like the PS3 360 version of Mortal Kombat 10.
Yeah.
They just would cancel it because obviously it wasn't going well.
Right. But this time was different, I guess. They wanted to charge $70.
Mm-hmm.
you could have sat on this and just released it on the Switch 2 and done fine.
Oh,
but
yeah.
now I feel like you've poisoned the well for this franchise on Switch on Nintendo forever.
Yeah,
Like you're just untrustworthy now.
Yeah, because I feel like to some extent, people who enjoyed your game aren't even going to give it a chance on the Switch 2, which obviously could run it much better than the Switch 1. Let's talk about some of the issues. You know, we can't just sit here and be like it's a burning pile of trash and not explain that it's a fighting game with a frame rate that goes all the way from 20 to 50. Physics on everything break. Sindel shaved.
Yeah, like Sindel's hair just doesn't load in.
It only appears when you specifically needed to do a move. Elsewise, she is shaved.
Yeah.
It is dire over here.
I had various calling characters come in without the back of their head.
Yeah. Yeah, the cameo dudes just jump into the back of their heads missing, so it's a face floating in space.
Yeah.
Eyelids sometimes would work for characters.
Right? Reptiles all smooth.
Yeah, he tries to change into his lizard form, which apparently they don't load any of before you do that move.
Right.
So he looks like a weird gelatinous balloon animal version of himself. It's so unreal.
You say that move, it's most of his move list.
Yeah. As long as like you don't use the moves that turn him into the reptilian form to do a swipe.
Right.
It won't load it. It's like, nah, I'm good. Nah, he'll never use half his moveset.
Mm-hmm.
We're good. That ain't happening. Oh my god, the list goes on and on.
Yeah, a lot of times weapons will they're supposed to hold it. It's just shoved randomly in the environment.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't actually attach to their hand.
Yeah, it was like several feet away from a character. I can't remember which one at one point. We're just watching it float through the air, and we're like, oh no, it's his telekinesis.
Yeah, Shao Kahn's axe, I believe, just floating next to him.
This is on top of intensely bad playing back cutscenes that look absolutely terrible because they took the PS5 version or the Series X version and rendered it on that in real time. Encoded it to worse than a 720p YouTube video quality. And then that's what we have to watch for the entire story of the game until it loads the real assets, which means you get flashbanged with Reptile whose eyelids don't work. And Smoke who looked okay before that and now just none of it looks right at all at any point. It'll try to load the next gameplay segment during the cutscene, and it will just not be able to play back the video well. It'll start screen sharing and sputtering, and
yeah, and that's most of the time it's playing the cutscenes.
Yeah,
it's trying to load the assets behind the scenes, and it just completely is making the cutscene almost unwatchable.
Yeah, it gets bad. It gets real bad. This version should not exist. The ending segment, and I'm not going to go into it plot-wise what it is, but we're going to go ahead and... the ending segment is a series of fights that are supposed to be cool as a smooth movement through a cool location happens and all hell breaks loose.
All right.
It can't do that.
Yeah, so between every fight, there's a solid minute of loading.
Yeah, it's dire. So we're sitting up here having to imagine how cool this is on PS5 as we're just dealing with... We had a 20-second fight. And then over a minute of loading.
Right.
And then a 20-second fight. A funny cutscene, and then over a minute of loading.
It really couldn't have been worse, I don't think. This port could not have been any worse.
I mean, we did actually soft lock on the playthrough.
Yeah, we did have a full
It
crash.
just infinitely loaded.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't even freeze fully on the load screen, I don't think. It just stayed there literally forever.
Yeah. Yeah, we gave it 5 or 10 minutes of just loading and it just couldn't. And the whole time you play through it, you feel like it's about to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Every single time a fight starts, you think it's going to crash.
Because once again, the frame rate is 20 to 50.
Mm-hmm.
You can throw a fireball and it'll hitch so bad, you're just in your brain, you're like, this is it. This is where it ends.
I guess there's also the stages look hideous too. It's not just the characters.
Oh, yeah.
The stages also don't load in most assets and have And if there's a person standing in the back, it's just a still person now, no animation.
Well, except for the very first of the game. It's like they wanted that one to look good, the restaurant.
Yes.
They tried on that. None of the rest of it is remotely up to that caliber.
No.
And that's actually an understatement even, because hideous is one thing. This thing has fucking the lines for the texture seams visible everywhere across countless levels. Where you're just like, wow, that's cool. The living forest has like cool like spreadsheet lines through it. There's a grid etched into the ground. Man, it's totally crazy because the characters don't look good, but the environments look worse a lot of the time. And it's funny too because you can tell they conceptualize these levels around the PS5 fidelity. I guess I'll stop playing this because we're not talking about the ending anymore. They conceptualize these levels around the fidelity you could accomplish on the PS5. So when you see them, you in your head go, wow, that must look sick. This looks nothing like that looks, I bet.
Right? Yeah, you the whole game just makes you imagine because no pics.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is the worst it's been since Mordor, and I cannot imagine Mordor is this bad.
Right?
Maybe on average, the frame rate on Mordor is lower, but that's because that game was capped 30 to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't Mordor also like a long time after?
It was if it's when Mordor launched, it would have been 2014, so it would have been 1 year in to the new consoles.
Okay, the last gen versions were only a month after the next gen ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
no, wait, they were closer to 2, but yeah, I thought they were longer than that. So if I also feel like if there's a disconnect, that also prepares the consumers to be like, maybe this isn't the same fucking game.
Right, yeah.
Day and date, and you go to the store and there's the MK11 box for Switch, and then one shelf over is the MK1 box for PS5. Your brain's gonna get confused, and you won't be smart enough to think, why isn't there a box for PS4?
I when I went to buy it at Walmart, the guy was baffled that there was a Switch version. He was like, "It's on there?
That
really?
seems wrong."
Right? Like no one would believe it because it really shouldn't be.
And the part that should be like able to be encountered with illegal retribution is the part where their trailer is using footage from the PC version on Nintendo's channel.
Oh yeah,
it has Steam achievements pop up.
Oh my god!
It has the leaderboard image that is for Steam.
Yeah, and apparently the Switch port of 11 is fine.
It's okay. Yeah,
like it's
compared to this, it's very serviceable as I understand it. So you could reasonably walk into this thinking they put that effort in again. But hell no, this is nowhere near a serviceable game. This is unreal to sell at all, let alone at 70. When we finished our playthrough, we looked it up because, of course, as Bob just said, we bought it from Walmart. So that way we have a physical cartridge,
right,
that says Mortal Kombat 1 on it. A thing you know can't be real. That's a Switch cartridge, and yet it says it contains a PS5 game. This is like Final Fantasy VII for NES. But we bought it so that way we could trade it in. We look on GameStop and they're like, what game? You can't trade that game in. And we're just like, what the fuck do you mean there's no value?
But yeah, that was for every version.
Every version,
1.
yeah.
So you actually just go to the store, call them, I guess, and maybe they'll tell you.
You have to trap the employee with you.
Right.
In the moment. Be like, I'm going to trade this in. How much will you give me? Which, of course, implies...
No, it's forbidden.
No, sir. Please. The headmaster will kill me. God, could you imagine Reggie comes to GameStop and he's like, we're going to have fun names for all the management tiers now.
Oh, my God.
No.
I think that the best one should be called Grand Wizard.
Yeah, Reggie, is that what you think? I'm not too sure about that, sir. And then he folds you into a chair and then throws you out a window.
you ever thinking get pissed about how fucking nerdy the clan's titles are? Like, fuck you. How dare you terrorize people and run around going, I'm a grand wizard. Fuck you.
Right? Like, we're here to protect good, clean Christian America. Now I need everyone to call me Grand Wizard. What the fuck, my guy?
Their fucking couriers were called Nighthawks. Go fuck yourself.
That's so fucking terrible.
I'm an Imperial Clabby. Fuck off.
But yeah, do not buy Mortal Kombat 1 on the Switch. That is not an okay game.
No.
Can we say one more thing about the game's story?
Sure, I'm gonna push the. There we go. We're good.
It's bizarre how obvious it is that it was two stories unrelated that they decided to merge together in a way that really doesn't mesh
really,
at all.
It kind of takes all the wind out of the new timeline for what they did because of what they did.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like 60% is a completely fucking normal Mortal Kombat story, and you're like, oh, some of these changes are neat. They made God, what is her name? Ashran?
Yeah, that's about right. A Shrek?
Like they made
I don't know.
Like they made her pretty good. They gave Reptile something finally. They made Baraka something other than evil cannibal man.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like, let us tell you about timelines.
Yeah, and to do that, they completely drop everything they were building up.
Yeah, it legitimately feels like it was something they decided after a lot of the story had been done. Like Ed Boon saw fucking Multiverse of Madness, and it's like, this is what the story is about now. And then at the end, every character is just a fusion of two other characters. It's like, I'm gonna go to the timeline where Melina is Sub-Zero and they're called Cold Jaw.
That's funny as hell, though.
It's so lame.
It's fucking incredible. I think that's what, like, personally, I'd prefer they not do any of the timeline stuff. It should have just been a new story.
Uh-huh.
But if they're gonna do it, that's the only part of it that's redeemable. That's the only part, because they have this whole thing of, like, they had a term for it, right? The elder Titans.
Yeah.
The whole thing with Titans. Fuck that. Fuck that. Fuck all of that. Get out of here. That's so dumb. And then it's like, oh, Titans, they must be really, and then you see them fight and it's like, oh, that's like normal. What?
Well, it must be normal because you beat them up in the last game, because fucking Chronica was a Titan. Oh, and then they make the spoilers for the fucking teaser for the next Mortal Kombat story. They set up like the Titan version of Havoc.
Yeah,
Ed, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Who the fuck cares about Havoc?
All I can assume is that they will have to not do that. It is so dire of, like, who would possibly want that?
Yeah, I don't know what.
Yeah, it's gonna have to like open on Havoc's corpse, and then the guy who is the actual villain is there.
Yeah, maybe it's like a teaser for the DLC, kind of like they did with the last
Probably,
game.
but even that's not good for a DLC.
No, but I'm saying the DLC's actual trailer shows what Chris said happened.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what they put up there is the least compelling sequel tease possible.
Yeah.
God. Some of the scenes in that story made me insane. It's like, just because they were so fucking goofy, like they were operating at sub Power Rangers level, where like, oh no, the bad guys are shooting our big hourglass with their lasers. Well, we'll shoot fixing lasers at it also and have an indirect power clash.
Everything once they introduce the timeline stuff is incredibly bad. Like, laughably bad writing like that.
the only redeeming quality was that you guys picked Smoke to save the day.
Yeah.
Who just looks like a creative character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the fidelity of that version of the game really enhanced that. And the fact that Smoke disassociates during important parts of the story really enhanced that. It's just like,
Is there, is there even a chapter where you play as Smoke?
No.
there was a tiny part of one chapter where you played as him like once, wasn't
No,
there?
you
Not
never
even
played
one
as Smoke.
fight.
Nope,
I thought we did one.
Not at all. I was very upset because they even set him up to be like one of
He's
the main
in
three.
the story.
He did the story. He's one of the main three ninjas. He's
Yeah.
like Sub-Zero and Scorpion's brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that really elevates that power. Also, when they have like, okay, we're gonna have like 2 points here where a character will say the character you picked's name.
Yes.
So good Titan Shang Tsung, who should not exist by the rules they set up earlier in the story, but he does for this scene. It's like, look out, Smoke, and then gets eviscerated.
That was so good. Seriously though, if you're like, I don't want to watch that playthrough, fuck that. Maybe just watch the ending half hour because it both highlights how bad that version is in the funniest part of the entire playthrough.
Yes.
Because you're just watching these terrible creative character, all K's of course, creative character, combatants also K, just get mulched left and right. It's like, oh no, Cold Jaw. Yeah, they had hilarious names. I was cracking up constantly. What an insane ending. Also watching Shang Tsung get his ribcage ripped out of his ass backwards.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it happened so abruptly. That's good guy Shang Tsung. It's just like, Smoke, help.
Is it like a story thing? Or?
It's the very ending, yeah. Literally, they had to do it real time because he says the name of whoever you chose. So we get low fidelity, real time Shang Tsung good guy go, Smoke, help. And then the CG cutscene of him getting his ribcage ripped through his ass.
Oh, Mortal Kombat never changes.
It was really good. I enjoyed the ending, but man, that didn't compensate for how frustrating the timeline thing taking over the whole plot to be like, what if instead of telling a real story, we told a multiverse one? And I'm like, you kind of already, we got a new timeline. Please just focus on that.
No.
The start of the last trilogy was this.
Yeah. I think it was really funny when they do like a good chunk of stuff with Baraka, and then the humans are like, we're going back to our world, but Baraka should stay. We know he wants to stay. And it's like, and then he disappears from the story completely.
Yeah. He's just gone. He punched out. You can see him in the living forest in the background, just doing the fucking Looney Tunes, puts in card, punches out, it's hanging off a tree.
Man, it sucks they just turned Liu Kang into Raiden.
Yeah.
Like, he instantly
Yeah.
fills the exact same slot of not being able to accomplish shit.
I actually called him Raiden like 5 different times.
You did!
Because he kept just doing Raiden things. Like verbatim. Like there was no life experience had changed him at all. He just became Raiden.
It's a metaphor.
I thought it was really funny that Reiko's in this game. They're like, what do we do with him? Because Reiko's thing in the PS2 games was like, is he Shao Kahn from the past? Is he Shao Kahn's son? Because he has all of Shao Kahn's iconography and everything, and Shao Kahn wasn't in those games, several of them. And this is just like, well, Shao Kahn adopted him, so he's now Shao Kahn's combat kid.
They're pointing out, Bob.
Yeah.
There's one thing that he didn't do that's classic Raiden.
Oh yeah.
We must consult the Elder Gods.
Yes. Luckily, the Elder Gods didn't seem to exist
Because
they
he
shouldn't.
is the Elder God,
they did,
right?
Though.
So,
they
like,
did though. He mentioned them. He brought them up.
there was a reference to them existing, which I remember during that moment going, what does that mean anymore?
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
He told somebody else to consult them.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I
don't know. They shouldn't have existed.
No, they shouldn't have. That's not what the new timeline is.
Look,
There's so
the
much
scripts got
really
overlapped.
bad. Like we've now hit the Ouroboros stage of a franchise where it's eating itself, and like you can't do anything but fanfickier versions of what you've already done.
Remember when Fan service is when two cool dudes would team up and be powerful, or like you get a guest character or any number of that sort of thing, and it wasn't always 19 Spider-Mans flossing. I feel like fan service, like dominating all of these media franchises, has gotten to a point where it's like every franchise is now 19 combatants just doing the Fortnite dance.
Yeah, it's got like I had this epiphany like anime has obviously been kicking America's ass for like 15 years. Like the Western animation industry is basically dead in like the targeting teenagers sense. They've completely given up and given over to anime. And on some level, companies have looked at that and been like, well, we need to steal some stuff from anime. We need to steal some of that sauce. What's their sauce? Let's look directly at Dragon Ball Heroes and nothing else. The Dragon Ball mobile game that is about every character being fused and 100 different timelines and everyone fusing with everyone else to make as many flavors of the same guys as possible. It's like, that's what everything needs to be.
I mean, that's actually a surprisingly accurate way to describe Mortal Kombat 1's cast.
Yeah, I would have preferred if for when their weird multi-timeline thing, if it was like not Mortal Kombat, but instead all those guest characters they already announced, like if it was like the boys and
yes,
and
that's what we were hoping for,
right?
They just show up and they're like, "Hey, what's up? It's me, Homelander."
Yes,
I'd actually have a lot of like. If like when Shang Tsung opens his Avengers portals, by the way, stop fucking putting the in-game portal scenes into your shit. Just stop it.
Yeah, no, that's not good.
But if he opened his portals and like Homelander and some of like a bunch of like Freddy Krueger walked out, that would have been something. But I feel like that's going to be NetherRealm's next game where Ed Boon is finally just like, finally, I can make Smash Bros for your dad.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I still love the first time my brother read the phrase people describing Mortal Kombat as Smash Bros for your dad because of all the DLC characters. He's like, my dad wasn't into these. Wait, no, I'm the dad.
What's it's gonna be really
right?
This trend won't end until Star Wars does it and it blows up immediately.
I don't want episode 10 to be Mortal Kombat 1.
That would be really dire.
Oh, don't worry, they're never gonna ship a Star Wars movie again. It'll just be a streaming show where a portal will open and Light Vader will walk out from that comic What If Darth Vader Became Good and painted himself white.
Clip
that
it.
is exactly the level I need Star Wars shows to start coming in at.
I agree with Agro. Like, you can't be good. You need to become bad in a delightful way.
I mean, that's a lot of why I liked Obi-Wan.
I'm gonna go ahead and stop playing the spoiler song. Does anyone have any last things to say?
No,
We've been going
let's get
for
outta
over
here.
11 minutes in the spoiler zone alone.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm turning it off. Okay. That's it for Mortal Kombat 1 spoilers. We now move on to other games. If you had listened to our Spider-Man Miles Morales spoiler cast, you might know that I had a very glitchy experience. Sorry, Marvel's Spider-Man, Miles Morales. I had a very glitchy experience that kind of impeded my playthrough. You know, it took away from important story moments as they're like, this is a suit, it is meaningful to you. And I'm like, that's what I've been stuck in for the last 6 hours. As the game just stopped working. We thought, hey, you know, it's been almost 3 years. I'm sure it's fine now. No, on my PS5, it's still pretty glitchy. We fell through the entire world during the final fight.
Apparently that just happens.
Yeah,
I talked to multiple people who are like, yeah, that happened to me. I played it like last week.
Yeah, we had people say that.
Yeah.
That's just a thing. And I'm like, oh, I guess that got buried in my brain over everything else that's not working. Because, man, that really... Anyways, ignoring the glitches, which, good luck. Spider-Man Miles Morales is still pretty cool. I like the story. I like the characters. The combat's really neat. I'm very excited for Spider-Man 2.
Cool. Yeah, I still don't like it as much as 1. But story's cool, and it's not just the main motivation of the main antagonist. Really stupid still. Oh, man.
What are you talking about? It's definitely not like we've had a meme going for years over how incredibly solid that motivation is.
You lied to me, Dan.
Just now, yes, actually. Then we played. Oh wait, we're now at day 3. All of this was day 1 and 2.
Right.
Almost all that was day 1. Spider-Man Miles Morales was day 2. We're now on day 3. We played Jackbox, and then we played Spec Ops: The Line. Spec Ops: The Line, VOD incoming because Jimi Hendrix's distant guitar sounds are heard on the title screen at the very end of the stream, so it's gotten blocked worldwide twice because it shows different snippets of the ending to choose each time. Is a game. It's a third-person shooter where you're in Dubai.
Yes. And it's been overrun by sandstorms. So there's lots of mechanics with sand. So
For the first 2 hours.
Yes. The first 3 hours, maybe, for being generous.
And then that just disappears from it forever, and now you're just doing a third-person shooter with no super extraordinary mechanical elements or set-piecey elements. It's just shooters and dead malls and dead like condos and the desert.
Yeah.
And okay, so talking about it real quick, we played it on the Series X, so obviously our performance was like lock 30 the whole time.
Right.
Context. However, surprised by how incredibly solid that game is.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It feels pretty decent for a third-person shooter of that gen.
Which
Absolutely.
is weird.
Right?
It's a Spec Ops game.
Right?
Everyone always talked about the writing, and they're like, the gameplay is really unenjoyable, but it's just a standard third-person military shooter, but the writing's fucking brilliant. And we were playing, and we are like, no, this is actually pretty high bar for fucking that gen.
Right.
Third-party, third-person shooter military. It's fucking nuts.
Not have played. I know I didn't play enough 7th-gen shooters, but God, it feels dire to me to say that. I remember playing that game, and I'm like, man, this is like fucking pulling teeth. Are you telling me people were eating things worse than this regularly?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, no, that's it's just a few bars below gears.
Yeah, and so that means every third-party third-person shooter with a gimmick is way worse, but thinks they have this one brilliant trick to get you to buy their game.
Right?
God, I feel like the absolute lowest I'll go is like Uncharted 3.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah, no. I know things go deeper than that.
Right.
That's the worst. That's where the deepest I'm willing to tread. I understand that that's me like walking into the lobby and going, I'm not staying here, and then leaving.
Right? Like, this brand cereal's not very good, and you look down and there's a row of guys eating like loose screws and carpentry nails.
What else could I say about it other than that? Other than the writing?
Yeah, I was like,
because I'm trying to avoid that, so that way I could hit the button and just leave it on that.
Yeah, the way the sand stuff works is a lot of it's like sand is stuck behind a pane of glass, so you can shoot the glass out and then sand rolls in and kills guys.
Yeah, because Dubai's just been completely covered in sand in a way that seems absolutely unreal.
Right.
Except for a cut through the middle of part of the city where there's a gap and it hasn't blown into that gap because the skyscraper's holding it back. Seemingly.
Yeah.
So as you were saying, lots of moments where a window has built up pressure of sand against the side of the building and you would blast it open after a lot of bullets and then it would just pour onto all these enemies or change the environment so you can move to the next area. And that is crazy high end for a third person shooter, that gen especially.
Yeah, and sometimes it has just cool looking vistas where you're on top of these skyscrapers looking down at this just completely flooded out stadium with the sand. I'm like, oh, this is actually got an interesting art direction.
Yeah, it's strong, honestly, which is crazy because you would expect it to be the same very brown, very gray shooter, and instead it's like an orange, and there are other colors at different points.
And the soundtrack was actually pretty good too. Like
it was. I loved it.
You're right.
Like you, especially from a modern perspective, where soundtracks have gotten a lot more cowardly on any game that costs any amount of money, you really start to appreciate all these like. The bass guitar starts kicking in and it's just doing a throbbing sound as you start the battle, and it's like, oh, this is cool. This is really neat. What the fuck?
Right?
We got good vibes like the whole way through. It's genuinely surprising. I guess we gotta talk.
Yeah, I gotta talk about the story. Oh man.
Spoilers for Spec Ops: The Line. As though any of you have no idea what the deal with that is. Anyway, here we go. Yeah, Bob, you seem a little different. I tried to put the spoiler image up, but you seem to have transformed entirely.
Oh no.
That's really unfortunate, Bob.
What happened?
It's tragic, but this is what Spec Ops: The Line does to people.
It's so sad. It keeps doing it to people. Okay, so in a lot of pieces of fiction, you have the reveal that some character, some element, something is in fact a machination of the main character or a manifestation of the main character's mind, and there's the unfaithful narrator and stuff, and that adds an extra layer to the plot or an understanding of the main character. Spec Ops: The Line does that. It's like, that didn't really change much.
Yeah, it changed basically nothing except make it so the story is not actually happening in the way it's told at all.
Which is funny because a lot of things do a sort of Fight Club twist, but this is maybe the first time I've seen the sort of Fight Club twist where they do the direct shot from Fight Club of showing what he thinks is there, camera pan, what's actually there. And I audibly lost it at that moment because it's like, I get it. Plenty of things can have this plot twist, and plenty of things can have different layers of effectiveness with this plot twist. But to take the shot from Fight Club, literally doing that was way too funny to me. It's just like it being Nolan North and just being like, he's trying to say something to us. We have to choose who dies. And it's two dead bodies instead of two people hanging. And his teammates are like, oh no, our general guy, our captain is clearly insane. Guess we'll just keep doing whatever he says.
Yeah, that
Holy
completely.
shit.
Yeah, you can't do like. Okay, here what you thought was him having a conversation to another character. Here's him talking to air, and the two guys watching that, and then it's like, well, they're fine with that.
Yeah, they just go along with it.
This is the personality type of people who work for Batman villains.
Okay, Joker, I guess we'll eat all the candy. I don't know how this is gonna own Batman, but I'm gonna die of diabetes for you. Yeah, there was a you can go all throughout this. See, the idea of Spec Ops: The Line is that your main character is trying to get out and stop someone in Dubai who mysterious circumstances surround, and as you enter the city, you commit a massive war crime very unpromptedly.
Yeah, the game's going fairly normally and almost unpromptedly.
Really, because you exit a building and you're on a high shelf of it.
Yeah.
And you look out and they're like, visibly maybe 7 soldiers. Worth noting, you've killed a lot of people until now. 7 soldiers is not an insurmountable thing for your heroes.
Right.
And then you white phosphor everyone, including a crate of obviously not combatants.
Mm-hmm.
These people are nowhere near in your vision, and you just cover them all in white phosphors. And then you're sad about it.
Yeah.
So it didn't like put you in a position where you had to make the tough decision to Willie Pete a city block. You just did it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You would think they would lead logically to the desperation move that is that. But no, it's literally, they don't know we're here.
Yeah, this is their sneak attack of white phosphorus.
Right!
That
is unabashedly a war crime. Like, there's no... What are you gonna say when they ask you what you were thinking? What were you... There were people...
I was thinking I'd white phosphorus those guys. Is there some confusion about that? I believe I wrote that in my report.
So...
Yeah, and it's even weirder because you're like guys that are with you. One of them doesn't want to do it, obviously. But the other one's super into it. Like, no, we have to do this, man. Even though he's the guy who's like, we shouldn't kill anyone we don't have to. A scene ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then
timeline-wise, from that moment on in the game, you're just crazy and talking to, like, walkie-talkies that don't work and saying dead bodies are living people, and these two just keep on with you as you continue being history's greatest mass murderer to the point where we just started calling him Booker. Booker's kill count is nowhere near Captain Walker's.
No, Captain Walker's got that on lockdown.
I'm not saying, because I know some people will hear some of the things I said during the stream and just now and not understand. I'm not saying you can't do the Fight Club twist. I'm saying it needs to add layers, not literally go.
Yeah, the Fight Club twist at the end of this doesn't even make sense. Like,
It's like if the movie Signs went, they were aliens. Yeah, no shit.
yeah, like what the game is about is feeling bad about this accidental war crime, the PTSD from it.
Right.
Yeah, accidental.
On paper, it was accidental, and then they put it in the game. It's somewhere along the line.
Yeah, it feels
The
like
line.
you just... They shoved it in because they wanted to have a twist about it, and it's like, no, the problem... His issues are coming from this event. If you make the event weird and abstract by adding this twist, it just causes confusion with the message.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Because he ends up being the guy that he's chasing after in Dubai.
Right.
In a way, a plot twist that makes almost no sense.
What?
Yeah, that dude's dead and has been. You see his corpse in a chair, and then you're wearing his jacket in the next cut.
I mean, so how did you did you get up and call those two guys into your office and like, okay, here's what I need you to do. Follow me out into the desert for like a couple 100 yards. Then we're gonna walk back into town and start shooting our own men.
That is literally what it conveys.
That's the only way that it could actually make sense. My thought on it is that all of it's in his head and none of it's even slightly real. He did the napalming, or sorry, the white phosphorating people, and that drove him
forever
insane.
ago. Yeah,
right. And it might not even have been in Dubai. I have no idea.
And the final ending scene of the game does really lead into that.
Right.
I mean, it could have been Dubai, but
yeah, it could have been
because the Dubai part is like his own personal hell, where he's just deposited. Even though it's like, how did all of Dubai get covered in sand? Like what?
I mean, that makes that whole thing make more sense. If
Yes,
that
it does.
Entire cool ass scene is just his internal hellscape.
100%. And in a game that absolutely earns it on the writing side, it would have been cool. I believe the best way to describe the ending is outright Shyamalan, but even those I feel like function on any level, whereas this...
Yeah, it just feels like the gear shift broke.
The what?
The gear shift broke as they were trying to get from their narrative into the Fight Club twist.
So, we've all learned a lot about Spec Ops: The Line. The important thing is that people have seen it.
Mm-hmm.
In the year 2023, 11 years on from it being hailed as brilliant.
God, there's the scene where... Because after they do the initial war crime, they go on to do more and more war crimes.
Right, of course. It's basically a marathon.
Right. And one of them is literally helping the CIA destroy all the water in the city. And somehow they think this is going to help the people.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Yeah, your characters just do nothing even vaguely logical.
There's a massive disconnect between what our characters are made to say and reality itself at all times. And people keep telling them that. And they, to some extent, acknowledge that. And then it continues. And that's Spec Ops: The Line. Bob, did you have anything else you wanted to say?
No. What a disappointment.
Bob, come back. Hey!
Whoa.
There we go. Now that we've stopped talking about Spec Ops: The Line, Bob has recovered. Okay, so that was fun. We all learned a lot. Then the next day, we played Mega Man Base. Finally beat it as Mega Man. That game is not designed for you to play as Mega Man at all.
No.
It is a base game. I don't know why Mega Man's in it. There are countless things that are like, what if you could double jump? That game's evil. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, we've been over it before. Just trash game.
Evil Mega Man game. Mega Man game that is more sicko than X3, which is deranged because everyone knows X3's balance is kind of malicious.
Weird data logs you can collect for characters that end up outing them as perverts
Or literal sex criminals.
or both. They're two separate sets.
They're like, haha, Flashman uses his abilities to look at women when they're naked. Oh.
Huh.
You can sure do fucking whatever when you're in a game that doesn't matter, that no one will ever play because 2D games turned off when the PlayStation came out. Well, 16-bit ones did.
So that was 5.5 hours of day 4.
Yeah, that sucked.
It was
I need you to imagine Dan Video Games needing 5.5 hours to beat an official Mega Man game. Think about how fucking unhinged it must be.
I did blind playthroughs of most of the Game Boy ones and beat them in faster time than that. And some of those are Mega Man 3 on Game Boy, where it's like, this balance is wrong because halfway through it gets insane.
Yeah, no, a lot of those are also just unbelievably busted in different ways.
Yeah, this was an insane experience, and I don't know that I'll ever play Mega Man and Bass again. I don't like playing as Bass, and the game wants me to play as Bass. Yeah.
How long were we on that final gauntlet of this second and last level?
Yeah,
That
I
was
guess we'll
insane.
talk about King 2. So the level King 2, which is a part of the final gauntlet of levels that is the second one, is 3 different bosses with 3 pre-levels, and you have to do all of them in a row to beat King 2. It's technically 4 bosses.
Yeah, that's
Because the third one has 2 different bosses.
madness.
Deranged. That's it. I'm done talking about that. Local Mega Man fan doesn't want to talk about Mega Man and Bass more at 11. But we were like, you know what will be a great palate cleanser because of how janky and funny and low rent and full of lies it is. It will be a great palate cleanser to play Red Steel. So we went straight from the 5.5 hours in Mega Man and Bass into a full Red Steel playthrough. Now, for people who don't know, Red Steel is the beginning of 7th Gen's outright fucking lies. Ubisoft put up so much promotional material where it's like the game runs at 60 and looks like a super future game and has these incredibly scripted cutscenes that are totally you playing it, bro.
This might be the first time Ubisoft did this. Maybe.
It might. It was definitely the first time it got out there for everyone to see in a big way.
Right, because this is what they became known to all throughout 7th Gen was Far Cry, Watch Dogs, and countless other things.
And none of those hold a candle to this.
No.
This is so much bigger a gap than any of those incidents. Because, they probably went, this is a little too much. We might get sued if we do it this hardcore ever again. Maybe roll this back a little bit, just even slightly. For people who haven't played it, it is a first-person shooter where you play as, and I am not exaggerating, Scott Son, who is the greatest gaijin / America gene in the world. He is defeating all of the Japanese Yakuza with his amazing sword tricks so that way he can rescue the daughter of the syndicate, the Yakuza syndicate, who is his girlfriend.
Fuck yeah.
This is a game for the weebiest weebs made by the French.
Jean Reno in it.
God, I wish.
Right.
Scott Son is incredible. So incredible. He fights his way all the way to Japan, and then all the Japanese crime lords are like, Scott Son, we need your help. All of them.
I don't know what your problem is, Dan. This is like 70% of Wolverine stories ever written.
I know, but it's even better because we don't know what our guy looks like, basically.
Right.
He
And-
just looks like Michael Cera.
It's like he has such bad mobility, and he watched a 50-year-old man climb a small fence, and then Bob made the joke of, God, I wish that was me. And I was like, why? Because he has mobility, or because he's like, what? And Bob's like, oh, because he's Japanese. That's the whole reason Scott Son would think that. I just started building the insane lore of like Scott Son's borderline immobile because you move so slow in this game and you can barely jump and you can't climb anything. So it's just this dude with a fedora and an Indiana Jones trench coat for some reason. And a sword, a mall sword, going through Japan and owning all the mafia bosses. See how all of this sounds like one consistent vision? Then there's a whole chunk of the game that's from what's clearly got to be a canceled Saw game.
Or Manhunt knockoff.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just one of the crime lords is like, hey, this guy owned me and now he runs death games. And we're like, oh, like a fighting tournament. We're going to go do it. No. No, he runs Manhunt. So for over an hour, that game's a different canceled video game. It isn't subtle at all. It is the only thing in this game that does not fit.
Yeah, it's also just blatantly less polished than anything else in the game.
Oh, yeah. We clipped into boxes numerous times. The game hard crashed during that.
Yeah.
Interesting thing that I believe this game's Unreal Engine 2.5, which means it's on the same engine as BioShock, but running on the Wii. It's the same engine as the Leandri conflict, but running on the Wii.
It runs at like
20.
Yeah, 20 frames. It never hits that 30 mark. It doesn't.
No, if it was locked 30, we could begin to make peace.
It can't track your, like, even pointing the gun at the screen well. Like,
no.
your cursor for the gun is just jumping everywhere at all times.
Yeah, people have rarely ever played a Wii game, I feel like, where you can't keep the controller still and have the cursor stay still. So because of this, we would have it jitter between the outermost edge of where we're pointing in the center, so rapid fire that Scott could no longer walk. Living up to the insane lore we're building for Scott Son.
A lot of times when you're in the sword fighting mode, which is like a bespoke thing when you have to duel guys.
Yeah, you have to duel guys honorably. You know, guys with lead pipes and bats.
Yes.
Not even steel bats or aluminum bats, wooden bats.
And your legendary katana can't cut it.
The Katana Giri.
The Katana Giri. God, what a terrible name. Which, of course, is just one of those small swords that has the dragon handle.
Yeah.
Oh.
This game is pitch perfect.
But yeah, the detection of your hand is so bad at the sword fights that many times when you swing, your sword disappears and you don't attack.
Yeah.
That is more often than you attacking.
And a lot of this game is you having to parry certain things, which requires you to take the nunchuck and do this.
Yeah.
And it can't figure out what you're doing ever.
No.
Then you get these cool bespoke techniques. I forget the name for these techniques.
Your kata.
Your katas are very cool. So in the dueling mode, you'll get katas that let you do a thing like jump up in the air lightly, you know, as high as Scott Son can.
Right.
And then drop down with both arms. And it gives you, I am not misspeaking, respects. You get 10 respects. 50 respects.
It's only the second thing that has ever had the energy of like, this seems like you just translated it with a machine, but this was made. This shouldn't be the case.
Right. It was at no point was this in Japanese.
Even though the menus and stuff are just like, we're not going to have English letters. That would ruin the immersion for you weebs.
Right.
You have to take this ticket stub and feed it into this TV on the other side of the screen. They were on some shit when they made Red Steel. And it is, even though it's on the Wii, one of the strongest 7th gen experiences. It really is.
They have
Like-
they have so many boneheaded ideas with controls too. Like, how should you be able to zoom in with a sniper rifle or with any gun? What if you point at the enemy and then extend your arm to zoom?
Uh-huh.
What problems could that cause?
Now, keep in mind, it's not Wii Motion Plus. It can't actually figure out on a granular level how much you've moved it. So it kind of treats it like a zoom-in stick.
Uh-huh.
So you fully extend your arm to keep zooming in slowly.
And half the time you'll just zoom in while your arm is not moving.
Yeah. Yeah.
So does it just become like fight the same guys for 8 hours?
Well, it took us 12.
Oh,
Yeah, this was the rough. This is the roughest stream we've ever done. This is the hardest it has ever been. This is the most dire any circumstances we've ever got up against has ever been in our entire history. Beating Kingdom Hearts 2 and Final Fantasy 7 in a single sitting was a fucking cakewalk too. Okay, we're gonna CBT you with Mega Man and Bass for 5.5 hours. Then you're gonna play Red Steel, which is bad, which is like funny, enjoyable bad to begin with, and then it really wants you to use parries, and it throws you in the saw chamber.
Yeah, there's like 3 hours of acceptably bad game, and then off the cliff.
And then it's just like, no, please, for the love of God, stop. I'm begging you, let me free from this mortal coil.
And then all the how long to beat times are completely wrong because they use the game save file time, which is just wrong.
Right, and that should be punishable by death.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's where we get this now classic image of me at hour 17 and 20 minutes as Bob is dealing with the same fight. Bob had to fight 14 or something of the same ninja in duels over and over in identical looking rooms, and I just fucking faded.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you do like, okay, there's a shootout, and then you open a door, and it's time for another ninja fight. And sometimes you beat one ninja, the next one walks up.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's so dire. He had to do doubles.
yeah.
And the health carried over.
And oh my god, at the very end of the stream, we beat the final boss. The second phase is about to start. The power goes out.
The power went out for less than 1 whole second. Just long enough to knock our PC or Wii, everything offline.
Uh-huh.
So if you're wondering, Dan, why is this fun 19 minutes for the ending? Because Bob had to replay the last level again and then beat the game. It's funny because if the internet stayed out, we would have had an excuse. But it didn't. It came back within like a minute.
Which is good because we need to see the epic conclusion of Scott San's story.
That's true. Scott San's very great. In my
Him
brain,
becoming
this
Scott Sama.
yes, he becomes the Scott Sama. In my brain, the lore with Scott San got so insane, I started to go into the Leon Kennedy talking to President Joe Biden about going into Spain and murdering every man, woman, and child until he finds the president's daughter. It really went hard into that energy in my brain. So I'm like, yeah, they should make a spiritual successor. And since Americans don't know what a prime minister is, we're going to have King Daimyo President Joe Biden, who's just Asian Joe Biden. He's like, Scott San, we need you to stop all the Yakuza.
I don't want to hear any more about the Yakuza.
Scott San, I know you're all about that Yakuza.
like Asian Joe Biden just like in a game just makes me think it would be like you fuse Lo Pan from Big Trouble in Little China with Joe Biden.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And yeah, I think I'm not gonna say going through Red Steel was worth it, but the fact there's a real fucking video game with Scott San, the greatest gaijin. That's great. And I'm glad we know.
Yeah, if they could just if they could have made Red Steel into an actual finished video game, like a year after launch, maybe that'd be okay.
Maybe that would be something we would ever recommend for even ironic enjoyment.
Right.
But it doesn't ascend to that tier anymore.
No.
And now for the most insane part of the opening of Big Think. The next day, day 5, we played Red Steel 2. Now, most people wouldn't play Red Steel 2. Why would you? The only reason you know what Red Steel was is if you played Red Steel 1, and that should warn you.
Right. Like, that was a launch title that probably did well at launch, but everyone who bought it realized how bad it was.
Yeah, it was literally like getting a foodborne illness.
Uh-huh.
You're not going to look back and be like, wait, I love shrimp pizza. No, that shrimp pizza made you violently ill. You shouldn't eat shrimp pizza, too. Red Steel 2 is nowhere near the same sort of game. It is, on paper, accomplishing every dream and goal of Red Steel 1 with cowboy fusion. So it's the Tex-Mex anime game.
Yes.
It takes place in Tex-Mex Japan. It's Wild Wild West. You got all sorts of like, it literally comes out 5 months after Borderlands and nails the art style Borderlands 2.
Mm-hmm.
It is insane. The game runs at 60 frames per second almost always. Like, it drops frames occasionally, but it locks that in. It uses the Wii Motion Plus so it can constantly follow your cursor very responsively and smoothly. It has like a weird pseudo hub world feel to it as you take missions and just go to the next area of town to fight, you know, these other goons. It's great.
Yeah, no, it's really it's one of the best Wii games, which is crazy.
That's a great place to hide it.
Right?
Under the label Red Steel 2. No one will ever find that.
Yeah. You get special moves that actually are easy to activate using your swing the sword. You can use the sword at all times. You can switch between the gun and the sword easily.
There's a parry button.
Yes, you do not shake the nunchuck anymore for almost anything.
Yeah, there's a stinger. There's an air Hadoken. There's all these cool techniques that are unreal. It's basically they made an action game, like Devil May Cry style action game, but it's for first person, and you get like a lot of gun control and multiple different guns, and you can upgrade your armor and life and get a one up and like all these things. It's insane. It's literally the first game's incomparable compared to it.
Yeah.
And the voice actor for one of the bad guys, who has a very Napa core voice, apparently was a creative director of For Honor, which is very fitting.
Yeah, that was really funny to find out he'd done anything else, like voice acting wise. I wonder if he voiced anyone in For Honor too.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm very, very curious. This game was great.
Yeah, that was really enjoyable. What was it, 7 hours or so?
Yeah, it was like 7:20. You know, they said 8, but they said 8 about 1 and it took us 12. But then they said 8 about 2 and it took us like 7, barely over.
Right. I didn't do any of the side quests, which those would have been fun. A lot of them was just like find other stuff in the environment. There's the things like Resident Evil 4 has of shoot the their sheriff badges just hidden in the environment, and you build up extra money and have quests to complete around that. And it's like, that's just.
If Red Steel 2 was a VR game, it would be Game of the Year.
Yeah.
It's so good. Unreal how good that game is.
Yeah, you can even do like the stuff from Devil May Cry where you knock him into the air, then jump up after him, hit him. It's like you got that working in first person.
Yeah, you could
It
do
was
that, and you
fun.
can also juggle them with your gun.
Yeah.
Why would you call this Red Steel 2? I get that it's the same idea of you have sword and gun gameplay, and it's first person, and you use the Wiimote.
Yeah, I mean, it probably wouldn't have sold anyway because it's on the Wii this late. But
Right.
you could do any favor by naming it something else.
Right, I gotta talk to someone at Ubisoft, be like, hey, you need to put this out in VR.
Yeah.
Why are you making an Assassin's Creed game in VR?
That would really tempt me to buy a VR headset. If it was on there.
And why would it? That game was great.
Yeah.
Unreal. We went from one of the biggest lies of the Wii to one of the greatest games on the Wii.
Yeah, one of the legitimately hidden gems.
Oh, a hidden gem. Bob has changed YouTuber careers.
I need a wig of even longer hair.
There we go. Yeah, just bob hair but long. Yeah. What an unreal situation, because we call it giving games a chance, and I do come in optimistically. But I never come in being like, this will be one of the greatest games of the console it's on.
Also, this one, the sword is the Sora katana, which is way cooler than the katana giri.
That's true. Sora means sky. Red Steel 2 is so good. And we finally are now at day 6. The loop has been continued all the way since last Big Think to this stream today, which would be day 7. But day 6 was a pretty cool video game. We did our first Dragon Wednesday. Not sure if you guys knew. Did you know? Dragon Quest is pretty cool. This Game Boy Color of Dragon Quest 1 and 2 is really, really cool. For anyone who doesn't know, it's actually called Dragon Warrior, even still on the Game Boy Color, which was the thing I was uncertain of when they made that change.
Right.
But I guess they make that change with possibly
8?
8?
7? Maybe 7?
Possibly 8 or 7.
I know it was there by 8.
Yeah, it's definitely there by 8, but it's gotta be somewhere in that range that it happens. But yeah, there's our fantastic Just a Zag made art. That was an awesome stream. I loved playing Dragon Quest 1.
Right.
That was a great fucking time.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of really obscure things in that game, but it's still really neat. And once you know what you need to do, which honestly, you're supposed to have had Nintendo Power. They ship it to you with Nintendo Power. So you should know what to do.
Admittedly, one of those things was they were trying to tell us the directions. The entire game is very the main castle centric. So when they said the castle, we assumed the main castle, but no, they meant their town. They're like, go south and east from here. Instead, we're like, oh, so it's north and west.
Yeah, because there's two people who tell you things based on different instructions.
Right. And one of them's an important character and does it nonstop.
Right.
And the other one was this lady in this town that we wouldn't think was a castle, but she was. So anyways, there was a crossed wire there, and we didn't know to look in the middle of a death swamp for a thing, which we, maybe should have guessed after we got armor that let us walk in the death swamp.
Yeah, that's true.
But that game's great. I can see why Dot Level speed runs it all the time. I already want to do my second playthrough. Maybe the SNES version or the absolutely hideous port to the Switch.
Ooh,
that mobile version's hideous. Look at how gross this mobile version is. For anyone who hasn't seen it, maybe don't look directly into it. Treat it like you might go partially blind if you look directly into the image of the mobile port of Dragon Quest 1 on the Switch, which is, $5, which I guess is an agreeable price. Let me make sure. Let's zoom in. Maybe this is the right picture. I don't know. No? No, that is in fact not that is in fact not the right picture. Mysterious. I totally couldn't tell that from the browser. Anyways, here's the correct picture, and that is what is wrong with you?
That's about how those PSP Final Fantasies look to me.
No, this is worse than that. At least
it is worse, but they're on the same tier.
I feel like the text in that being lower res because PSP helps it not be a third resolution, because the first resolution is the background. The second resolution is the character sprites. And then the third resolution is the font. And that is hideous. It is so gross. Why did they do this?
Yeah, it's really weird that it took until 2019 for everybody to beat it through these companies' heads. No, we'd like something that at least looks sort of like the original, not something you just ruined because you thought more pixels better.
Right. I don't know why it took this long.
Right. And even now, a lot of them are like, but pixels bad.
The fucking keyword for all these things should be vanilla plus.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not hard to produce something that's vanilla plus. Widescreen, couple quality of life features. If it's really old and crusty, have someone touch up the sprites.
Right, and touch them up manually at the negative resolution they originally were. Don't upscale them a bunch and then add smoothing or anything else. You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, no, that's not helping anyone.
Yeah, Dragon Quest was really good. And I'm really excited for Dragon Quest 2. I'm super excited to see what a sequel to that does, which it really does help that we played the Game Boy Color one, where you walk up to a thing and you hit A and it goes, okay, I'll interact with this thing, instead of it being, I pulled up a menu.
Yeah, select stairs on your menu.
Right.
Or select
door.
Examine or door.
Or open.
Also, yeah, it's so much nicer. It feels like you're playing a game that's in all modern.
Right, exactly. Because the original has almost a text prompt, a text parser sort of adventure game feel, but presented via UI, which is what happens when you make the first definitive JRPG.
Right.
Because while it took its inspirations for many other RPGs, it is the one that we definitely recognize as JRPG core. The Game Boy Color version is probably the version to play. Because the SNES assets are also weird, but they're not mobile port weird.
I assume at least the SNES would
SNES has those really neat animated enemies.
Huh.
Yeah,
But and I assume it makes if it's this thing where you don't bring up menu and you can click on stuff.
yeah,
So,
I'm pretty
okay.
sure the quality of life features are identical between the two of them.
Okay, that's good.
Aside from that, music, of course, classic, great experience. I wish I owned this game on the Game Boy Color growing up. That would have been so great. But it's okay. I have a analog pocket now, which they announced, hey, idiot, we're making that in purple. And I'm like, transparent purple? And they're like, transparent purple. And I'm like, I know I've been stuck in the infinite hour 90 to 92 Tsukiyomi with the Donathon, but even still, that is a gross misuse of money.
Right, absolutely.
If there was someone else who was even interested in my analog pocket, maybe, but...
Hello.
Huh? What's... I heard a voice from the heavens. One moment. What's that voice? Kill John Lennon.
I can see the appeal of having a device that plays like every Neo Geo and earlier thing that's in your pocket.
Yeah, it's really great, frankly. And I probably use that thing as a portable more than I've used the Switch as a portable anytime remotely recently because it's small.
Right, yeah, the Switch isn't exactly portable in that sense.
And it has stuff, it has so many platforms. It literally can play NES, Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, SNES, Neo Geo, Genesis, Master System.
Look at my phone.
Oh, so am I owned now?
Yes.
Oh, I'm owned. Damn it. No. No. Come on, man. Yeah, we'll have to talk, Chris. Anyway, I'm very excited for Dragon Quest 2 because it is almost twice as long. Or slightly over twice as long. I think that how long to beat on 1 was 9 hours, which we took a little bit more than because the Draco Lord kicked my ass. He's like, hey, you ain't got that fancy sword? I'm like, what fancy sword? They just fucking rolled me up into a ball and then shot me like from the 3-point line into a wastebasket. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, I want to know if 2 adds the party or if that's not until 3.
I'm pretty sure that's 2, but I could absolutely be wrong. For people who don't know my history with Dragon Quest, my grandfather owned Dragon Warrior 1 through 4. So growing up, I got to play those a lot. And I didn't really beat games as a kid. So like my experience with all 4 of them is booting it up and be like, oh, this is neat. I like how the music's different. Look at all this stuff. Oh, that's cool. And then after a few hours with each, I'm like, okay, I'm done. Just, a great way to get nostalgia and cursory experience with a number of games. And then it's like, hey, what did you think of the story? And I'm like, what? I don't know. I'm a warrior. I kill dragons. So I'm really excited for 2. I'm really, really excited for 2. It's unfortunate that Bob's going to have the forever game, Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D, spoiled by the original game, Dragon Quest 3. But I'm sure the upgrade in visual fidelity and everything else is going to be so nuts that it won't really spoil it. Like, that is going to feel, like, insane to look at. I'm so fucking excited.
Heck, they might even add voice acting because they do some... Well, but most of those HD2 games have voice acting.
That's true. I'm excited. So, we're doing the completely sane playthrough order of Dragon Quest games, obviously. 1, 2, 3, 11. I actually don't know yet. I don't know if that's what we'll do. It'll be very funny if that's what we do. If we do that, we're probably going to end up with S, because S is how long to beat is much shorter because of the quality of life features and just how much faster it loads and everything else. But no, it probably makes sense to stop anywhere before 11.
Right.
Like even 8. Or 5 or 6. Everyone says 5's the GOAT.
Right.
Except for the deviants, who say 7's the GOAT. Which shows they probably didn't even play the PS1 one.
After reading a description of how 7 works, I'm like, I'm going to have to play this. And it's going to have to be the PS1 version.
Oh!
It's going to have to be the PS1 version. First of all, the 3DS version... If you're using a guide, all of the quality of life shit the 3DS version adds is irrelevant.
Okay.
It's all just help. And I'd rather know what it looked like than here's like a 3D version we made on the 3DS. but I have to know, like, what made them make a 120-hour long game?
Spending 5 years on it?
That man, remember when a game taking 5 years made it some unbelievably massive behemoth of a game that could never be matched and not every other game?
Or just an outright failure?
Right.
Like, because it used to be that when you would hit that tier, you would be Duke Nukem Forever. Like, if you took over 5 years to come out, you're too human or Duke Nukem Forever.
Yeah.
I'm not mean enough to call Dragon Quest VII Duke Nukem Forever.
Not until you have to play it.
And that's it. Except we have one more game, right? That you played?
Oh yeah, I played a few things.
Okay,
I was able to
let's
fit a
go.
few things in
Let's go.
around the streams.
Let's go.
I played a bit of Counter-Strike 2.
That's great, Bob.
That came out yesterday. It's very funny to have like this brand new Counter-Strike with really nice visuals and a lot of new voice acting for callouts and stuff. And it still has the Counter-Strike like original terrorist win.
Yeah.
It's
That's
great.
classic.
It is. You can't get rid of it.
You can't get rid of it. That's terrible. Like, you wouldn't do
Does
that.
does it have original Counter-Strike map, so you're standing in like the world's highest resolution version of something that was made 35 years ago?
Dust 2 is what it starts you on.
So
Yes, it looks pretty gorgeous. After you finish the tutorials, which is just like not a tutorial, but just you have to do a bot match before it let you play real match. It shoves you into casual queue, and the casual queue it put me into is just Dust 2 forever. So it didn't change maps. You didn't even really have like the rounds just were infinite. There wasn't okay, the game has ended at any point, which is pretty neat. I need to search around more because I was only able to play it for like maybe 30 minutes or so. I'd like to play a more normal, sane version of this game than Dust 2 forever. But I did get to see the smoke system because smoke grenades actually are volumetric now.
yeah.
And that is really cool. Like you see the bolts actually go through the smoke and cause shifts in them. You could throw a grenade and it'll blow the smoke away. People
Man.
walking through it disturbs the smoke.
Remember when video games used to use technology to drive gameplay?
Mm-hmm.
And that's in an online game,
Yeah.
which makes it incredibly complicated to sync the volumetric smoke across all these clients. What the fuck are we doing in the AAA space right now?
I don't know. And then it's Counter-Strike, so I assume they have literally every man there making sure it feels good. So yeah, bullet hits, you can really tell when you get hit. When you have hit someone, it all feels like really snappy and like from what I played, I didn't feel that disconnect you sometimes get in an online shooter where it's like I definitely hit that guy and he killed me.
Right.
Like I didn't get that sense at all.
Yeah, if I remember, the tick rate on this is pretty good.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
'Cause, you
something
know,
crazy.
Yeah, because it's trying to compete with Valorant, which has a really good tick rate.
Mm-hmm.
Good. It's a shooter.
Also, it has these weird music packs that I didn't use, but I had some unlocked just from owning other games. So I had a Hades and a Doom music pack I could have
What
turned
the
on.
fuck?
Right?
What? What?
Yeah.
For people who don't know, I haven't actually played Counter-Strike really, but I did play Valorant and really enjoyed it. So the thought of like, and for people who don't know, Valorant is just quirky Counter-Strike.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm really interested in Counter-Strike 2. Maybe I'll be able to play a PC game on my 4090 and it will run right.
Maybe.
Maybe the Donathon will lock us in 90 to 92 for the next several months, and I'll get a 240 hertz monitor next year. I don't know, because for people who don't know, they announced a product that is a 240 hertz OLED monitor for next year. It's like 27 or 30, I think it's 32 inch, but they didn't announce the price.
Yeah, of course not.
So they have a hold of my heart, and they won't tell me the cost.
But that
sounds awesome.
Yeah, this game seems pretty cool.
That sounds really cool. I really want to play that. I'm gonna have to find some time outside of stream.
I think if there's anything else really unique about it that I can say, the standard casual mode is 10v10, which is feels like way too many people.
10v10. Wow.
Yeah, which
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot.
yeah, which the practicing was like the classic 5v5, I believe it is, or maybe 6v6. I can't quite remember, but it's a lot more restrained. Which is what I was more used to. So going to this other mode, I was a little weirded out. But that's it, really. And then the other game I played, I got to play a little bit of Fate Samurai Remnant game.
Well, 1 second. I have the button. I can just end it for the appropriate time. 1 second. Here we go.
Game code provided by.
And then you have to say,
Koei Tecmo.
there you go. Give me the name one more time.
Fate Samurai. There's a slash between those two words.
Yes, of course.
Remnant.
So thank you, Koei Tecmo, for the code, so that way we could check this out in between all of the streams. Bob, what is this game at a broad stroke level?
Imagine Dynasty Warriors combat.
Done.
With a feudal Japan setting. Well, not
Okay.
Right around Meiji Revolution setting, honestly. Like,
Okay.
yeah, that sort of thing where the same,
Bakumatsu?
yeah, Bakumatsu, like where Kenshin's taking place, that sort of thing.
Okay. So Kenshin, but a Warriors game. Go on.
Right. But it's a Fate game, so you have these different heroes from different time periods. So you have Jean d'Arc and stuff show up in Japan. And then it seems like it might have the structure of a Yakuza game, where you have a little town you wander around and pick up quests in, and there's also main story events to go to.
Cool.
I have not been able to play that much, probably like an hour or so, just because we've been doing so much other stuff.
Right.
But they do have like full anime opening, looks amazing. Then go into just that structure of go to a place in town, pick up a quest, and then do something. So sometimes it'll be like, oh, you need to fight these goons. And then it's a Dynasty Warriors game, so it's 5 guys that you walk up to, and then the waves come in. Like,
That's really great.
this many bandits were gonna steal that?
Damn. They really want this.
I feel like that's unreasonable.
I should hear their side out because there must be a really good reason they want this.
Right?
That looking at the game, it looked visually very nice. You're playing this on a PS5, right?
Yes,
It had a
PS5.
very crisp, clean look to it.
It does. It's them trying to do like an anime shaders over some of their regular Koei Tecmo looking graphics, which is hit or miss, but
Yeah.
it's still pretty nice. And all the cutscenes where people are talking they've taken a picture of someone and animated their mouth in a very funny way.
So is it swapping images or?
No, it's stretching and and whatnot.
Okay, I wish I had seen that.
Yeah.
That seems interesting.
Yeah, I have not played that much, so I don't have much else to say, but it seems like this will be pretty good. It unfortunately is not dubbed at all. It's all in Japanese.
Okay, yeah, that keeps happening with Warrior style games.
Yeah, and then it also keeps happening with Fate games, which is like, guys, you have
No, they don't.
you
No
have
one
so
likes
much
Fate.
money.
No one likes Fate in America, and they don't have any money.
You know that you're like because you translate and you dub every anime it releases.
Huh.
I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. So Bob,
Koei
would you?
Tecmo specifically seems to be one of those dev that's like, unless it's really big, we're just not gonna fucking do it.
Yeah,
Right,
it
yeah.
keeps happening. Would you?
They even get like it took 3 of the best-selling Atelier games period to have them ask, "Hey, would you like us to start dubbing these again?"
Yeah.
Would you? How would you compare this to like the Nintendo Warriors? Because they have like the Fire Emblem one, the Hyrule Warriors, like just from a like how good it feels to play, like angle or structure even. Because I know this is why I'm asking this. A lot more people have experience with those than
Right.
any Dynasty or Samurai Warriors games.
Weirdly, I have not played enough to see how a full level structure is going to be. So it has been a lot of like, you're in a box with a bunch of guys coming at you. Like it hasn't been explore a larger area like you see in most Warrior games, including those.
Okay.
Which I assume it's going to take some of that eventually. But I do not know. So it's hard to compare it to those.
Okay, how does it compare to the PSP Warrior game in the Fate series? Because that exists, right? It is a Warrior style game.
No, they did that on the PS4.
Oh,
Yeah, the Fate Extella something.
Stella and then Fate Extella Link.
Yeah. And it feels a lot better than those.
Oh, okay, there
Because
you
this
go.
is made by the actual Warriors team instead of guys trying to be them who really can't.
so there you go. If you were a fan of that, maybe get in on this.
I'm also enjoying it a lot more than that because those have everything. The Fate Extra timeline is in the weird thing where it's like, it's not real. It's all a computer construct in a digital space.
Oh, cool.
Which takes it away, takes me out of it completely.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this is just, no, you are actually in Japan in this time period, and there is a great Holy Grail war happening, which is way cooler than on some computer database on the moon. A Holy Grail war maybe is happening allegedly.
So the Fate universe is about taking these greatest warriors or revolutionaries of some sort, maybe just said a mean thing once, from all across history and bringing them into this ultimate battle. Do you think they'll bring in Scott Son?
I think Scott Son's going to show up.
That's unfortunate.
But all the Fate God, I forgot what they're called. The Guardians or whatever. The summoned warrior. All the summoned warriors go by aliases. So you just have someone named Saber, and you don't know who it is.
Ooh, could be anyone.
It's not the Saber. It is a different Saber.
Okay.
God.
But it also might be a saber, and not just a saber, but a saber.
I'm waiting for them to reveal that. That'd be pretty funny.
Jesus.
But so far, I'm really excited to play more of it.
Bob, they even dubbed that Saber taco game.
Yeah.
I just thought of that as I'm like, wait. They dubbed a completely free feeding Saber tacos VR game.
Yep. I'm sorry, you can't do it. It's impossible.
Please dub games. Thank you. Especially Warriors games, because they have so many things they're saying that you want to be aware of.
Yeah, they have a ton of combat dialogue.
Yeah.
And this is the same. Okay, I missed that. I hope it wasn't too important.
Yeah, it's like Dragon Quest when we do the really fast text speed. Most of the time it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But then in battle, for some reason, it's like, by the way, it did this much damage. Bye. We get frames, maybe 5 of them, to see how much damage the enemy did. And they're like, oh, they did 90% of our health this time.
And your silence.
And your silence, and asleep, and dead.
Yes. Sleep is just death in that game.
It is, because then they hit you 4 fucking times.
Uh-huh.
We were lucky a couple times and woke up after one turn of being extra hit. But still, that sucked. But yeah, I'm also pretty interested in this game.
Yeah.
And I've experienced nothing Fate.
It seems like a good onboarding point because it doesn't assume you know any of that stuff.
Right.
It's just like, hey, this is the events. This is what's going on.
And all Fate games, I assume, are predicated on you not actually knowing history to have any questions about why these figures might do something.
Right.
They're like, but they did it. That's the important thing. And it's cool because you vaguely recognize the name of this person from history.
And the sword is based on whatever they did in history, and it's very cool. It's their noble phantasm, and you clap.
Yeah, that's what you do. Hopefully I get some time with it as well, and you get more time before next week's big thing.
Yeah.
Did you play anything else?
No, that's all I had time to squeeze in.
Is that all?
Yeah, that's all.
Just, let me count this, 17 games.
I played more Mercenaries mode in Resident Evil 4 remake, but there's not much else to say about that other than, oh man, this is great. I need more of it.
Okay, well, next we're going to head to Dr. Aggro. Aggro, what you been playing?
I wrapped Starfield last week.
Nice.
That game was written by people.
Fact.
Yeah, it's a Bethesda game.
Absolute fact.
I don't want to use the word cowards, but when your mid-game reveal writes a check that the end of your game doesn't fucking cash, maybe that's the direction we need to go in.
What is this, Star Ocean 5?
Oh.
No, all the elbows work.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Do you mean Star Ocean 6, Bob? I don't think you played Star Ocean 5, the one that's like 14 hours long and all walk and talks.
Yeah, I didn't, but I've heard.
Can you write a check you can't cash? Like if you did that to start, like if you were always obviously broke?
Yes.
You're just standing at the Kmart counter writing it out while the cashier's just watching you go through this facade.
Because you were there standing in your underwear with clearly no money.
Starfield continued to be a great game to play all the way to the end. It had some neat missions, a bunch of neat weapons. That list of companions and the plot were a whole thing. And Mateo sucked from moment one, and at the end, he did not disappoint. He continued to suck the maximum amount for a character in a video game. I just hate him so much. He's an awful little dweeb, and I wish he would die.
I was like, maybe this is one of those suck but enduring. No, I guess not.
No.
No. So after that, I got to finally start in on Baldur's Gate.
Awesome.
Yes, Baldur's Gate is the D&D video game I've been waiting for my whole life. It is amazing. You get all of the, it's basically 5th edition with a few mechanical changes. You actually get that at-table experience of walking in an area where there's nothing, and it just goes die roll, survival check failed. You
That's
go, what was
great.
that? Fuck you, that's what it was. Pass the check next time, and I'll tell you. It really is high pressure when it's like, hey, because you've got a whole party and you can pick which character you're controlling at a time. And whoever that is when you start the conversation is whose stats you're using for that conversation.
Oh.
So it's like, maybe you need to intimidate him. Like,
Well.
roll the wizard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that I've heard people complain the most about, because it's like, it's not a tabletop game. It's a RPG. People are going to want to use their main character to have conversations. Just let them use the best person in the party. And I think that's what the Pathfinder ones do, where it's just like, you get to have the conversation using the stats of the best person in your party for those things.
I don't know. That sounds hilarious and like the exact simulation I kind of want. I totally get it.
It did lead to a great moment where I walked into a cutscene where a bunch of flaming fists were like, hey, there are people trapped in this burning building. We need your help to get through the door. And there wasn't like a wizard it opened. It was just strength. So I hit strength, rolled a 20, and the camera changed to inside the building, and I got to watch my wizard kick a fucking door in.
That's really good. Did you clip it?
I did not. I was too busy clapping. They did a really good job porting this to a controller. Because, on PC, you've just got this huge brick of an MMO ability bank that you can hit all the buttons in. In this one, every time you want to do anything, you basically hit L1 or R1, and it'll bring up a series of radio menus you can switch between with the stick. And that just has all of your abilities laid out on it, and you can edit it. And, like you go in to click a spell, and it'll dive into a deeper radio menu of all the levels of that spell you can cast. And it looks like a mess, but it's really snappy to use. I'm also gonna keep praying that I find some more companions who aren't gonna be a problem.
Oh?
Like 24/7 just gonna be a problem.
This sounds like an incredibly accurate tabletop RPG simulation.
It really does, but usually I'm able to browbeat other people at the table into doing whatever I want them to do and acting like they like it.
Uh-huh.
Here, those cucks at Larian have decided that these characters have agency and their own personalities.
Is this the first time in your life you've had to deal with other people who have their own opinions and agency?
Just looking at these motherfuckers like, man, if you weren't the only one in this party who could hit in melee, I would tell you to fuck off. And you can actually just like hire NPCs and customize them to whatever class you want, but then I wouldn't have all the cool dialogue.
Right.
I feel trapped by the desire to witness drama, but not be a part of it.
If only there was a highly dominant genre of TV for people like me. Some sort of reality show.
This game really, I think it's introducing a generation of people who got into D&D because of live play shows, to what tactical combat is actually like.
Oh.
So instead of everyone build your character however you want, and I'll adjust everything to your power level, and we'll have a fun adventure. It's, did you not buff before the kobold fight? You fool. Everyone's dead. Try again.
I'm willing to bet a lot of those people just went and easy.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
More power to them. But this is.
Did you know that apparently the game goes, oh, you're on easy? You can't multi-class now. You don't fucking need that. You're on easy.
Oh.
Which rule book was that? I don't remember that.
Fifth edition.
Fourth edition.
Fourth edition. Yep. Okay. Womp womp.
Oh, fourth edition. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard some interesting stuff, not totally confirmed, but it's been popping up about the karmic dice system, which is an option where you can either tell it just do the normal bell curve or use karmic dice to prevent getting a bunch of failed checks in a row, because that just sucks when the computer does it to you.
That does suck.
Apparently, some people are testing it, and it affects your dice and the enemy's dice. And the higher the difficulty, the more likely enemies are to hit when karmic dice are on.
Oh my god.
That makes sense.
That's a nightmare, though. I don't want it helping them out.
I do think it's funny that I think like one of the designers of 5th edition shit talked this game. It's like, guys, if there's no penalty for failing, you don't need a check. It's like we made it so ones and 20s aren't automatic successes on skill checks for a reason. There's some things you can't do. There's some things you can't fail at. And then very obviously, like, I had like a plus fucking 40 and got a 1, so I failed.
Yeah, it was a moment when I realized that. Like, I got my first natural 20, it's a critical success. I'm like, but this is a skill check. And the next thing I did had like a DC 10 and a plus 10 to my modifier. Oh no. Oh no, I have 1 lockpick.
That's what save scumming is for.
It's true. I really need to learn to hit that quick save button on PS5. Also, whoever wrote the scenarios for this game is the champion of yes and DMing. Because holy shit, like I was in a place and then went into a building and I found a note that led me into the cellar that had a secret door that led to a cave that had a magically locked secret door that went into another cave that had like an alchemy lab. And I found a book in there that had a note that said, oh yeah, my apprentice went missing. My servant said he saw him by the well. So I go back out of all that shit and go to the well, and there's a giant cave full of eder caps and phase spiders. And I'm like, I was on my way to do a quest. What is this village?
Oh man.
Yeah, it's been pretty great so far. Then something potentially unfortunate happened. Somebody told me to play Void Stranger.
Yeah.
They were like, it's a Sokoban game. And I'm like, what? Sukaban Deka? I love
that one.
Kamiya.
Uh-huh, yeah. She got you acting like an amateur?
So Void Stranger is a game that is, I mean, it's a puzzle game. I'd never encountered that word before. Sokoban, I guess it refers to pushing crates.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
It
But yeah,
is.
it's one of those. You're on a grid, you're pushing stuff around, except the gimmick with this one is you have a wand that picks up floor tiles and then puts them down in other places where there's an empty space. And it is a ball buster. I'm on like room 111. A lot of the puzzles, there were a couple where I got to the point where I'm staring in a room going, all right, either this is literally impossible or I'm 100 rooms into this game and I've misunderstood a mechanic.
Yeah. Always good when you have that moment.
And I'm not sure which it is because this game is also laced with the fuckery. where it's one of those games where you're playing the game and there's a story and you can learn it or you can miss it, and then there's some other stuff going on and it gets weird.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where I have been warned away from Googling anything about this game lest like YouTube thumbnails give shit away.
Uh-huh. Just saying it around your phone is risking it.
I also like to, as least spoilery as possible, I may have done something to my current run that killed it, but I'm still playing. Because I don't think I can lose anymore, but I think there's some stuff that's not triggering because of a thing I did.
Oh.
Yeah. It's one of those kind of games.
All right.
As I said, it's apparently got some shit going on and really hard to avoid spoilers. So if you'd like, friend of the channel, voxandra.gay, released a YouTube video called Falling in Love with Void Stranger. So if you are interested, I would use that to check it out. I mean, apart from like the official trailer, rather than anything else. Like I keep wanting to describe more things in this game. But it's all just abstract block puzzle mechanics that are cool. The different monsters that run around, the weird tile types, but that's basically it. It's Void Stranger. I'm going to beat my head against it until I'm too frustrated to play it anymore, or I apparently obtain oneness with the entire universe. This is based on the reports of people who have beaten it.
For people who are really into visual aesthetics of games, this is because Sokoban is a very, very popular Game Boy genre. Like, it was definitive early on in the Game Boy in Japan, especially. This entire game's grayscale, like, worth. This game is, let me put it that way, 4 shades of gray, basically, Game Boy core sort of look to it because of that. And it actually has really good art. It's got supreme fucking vibes. I wanted to play this game 2 weeks ago, but I've been chugging games off my backlog, and then the Donathon happened. I was hoping to move before I played it, and now aggro is dangerously close to my field of vision as he plays it.
I mean, you can just do what I do and play it during big things sometimes.
I don't think I'll be able to pull that off nearly as well. I think it might be a bit more obvious. I think the audio might show up.
To be clear, I am not currently playing Void Stranger instead of paying attention to Big Thing.
That was when Bob and I were talking. Yeah. Was that all you played?
I believe so.
Chris.
Not Stranger Things, fucking The Separate Ways DLC for RE4 came out. So I played through that. That sure was a new experience for me, an RE4 veteran, of not fucking having anything.
How do you mean?
It's hard.
Oh.
Like, it's obviously like, you play this after the fucking main game, my man. The difficulty curve is escalating from there, and you're starting over, like, upgrade-wise.
Huh.
Awesome.
So there's multiple parts where it was like, and I was playing on normal. I wasn't even playing on higher difficulty. I'm like, fuck this. I'm running past these guys. I don't have the resources to fight them. It's also really fucking long. It took me like 8 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, it's big.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and this is like $10.
They added in a bunch of, yeah, I'm convinced like it's $10 because they were like, we can't, it's too much to be free.
Right.
It has a bunch of new areas that were from the original, but not an RE4 remake. So it's like re-envisioned areas that were cut.
Pretty cool.
There's unique bosses. Ada still has the you can melee from anywhere thing from Mercenaries mode,
Which is sick.
You can't go to the shooting range, but you can still buy charms from the merchant. And one of the charms is like You can fucking grappling hook a guy's shield off. You don't
Ooh.
have to fucking. You don't have to fucking deal with them. Just yank it off them.
That's so good.
It also the story's really good. I wish Ada's voice actress was doing her part a little bit more.
She's just a little sleepy.
She's really not holding up her end of the bargain very well. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I have to play it a second time to be like, no, I can't let it end with me hobbling through going, oh, all my bones are broken all the time. Oh, I don't have any ammo ever. Oh, my knife is always broken. Oh. But yeah, $10. That's a hell of a good DLC for $10. Easily the best, most valuable, like the most value DLC purchase I've made in several years.
You're saying it's a better value than the Resident Evil 8 DLC?
Oh,
God, yes, easily by a lot.
Shock. Surprise.
It helps that it isn't like a weird attempt at like, well, the main game has shooting. We're not going to have shooting. We're going to be like a really bad survival horror game.
Right, yeah, that was a choice.
I also streamed Deltarune chapters 1 and 2. To try and discover, is Toriel Dreamer the goat mom? Is she an alcoholic? Unfortunately, there with less than 1/3 of the game released, there is not enough evidence to get a firm conviction yet.
Maybe someday we'll figure it out.
There is some evidence, but not enough to be to pull the lever. I noticed many more Homestar references than I did the first time I played these two chapters. Down to one of the bosses just having an attack that is the wireframe strong bad going, might your head explode.
Yeah.
And then blowing up.
Explode.
Yeah, if you don't know how Undertale / Deltarune work, it's turn-based. It's a turn-based RPG. When it's the enemy's turn, instead of them just hitting you, it becomes a WarioWare minigame.
Yep.
And it's like performing this WarioWare minigame, and or else you take damage. So there are some pretty interesting ones, like where one traps you in Twitter, and if you accidentally touch like the red text somebody spits that I guess is a hot take, everybody gets pissed at you and starts shooting at you. But immaculately designed and written game. I was floored multiple times, even vaguely remembering. And there were sure a couple times I went, no, don't say that. No, don't make me read that, Toby. What are you doing? Why do I have to read this gifted kid gamers dialogue, please? Why do I have to read the text? You're not only kind, but a true gamer as well, because someone made a Dragon Quest reference. Yeah, emotionally, those games can be pretty rough. Because you're like, oh, I know this person. Oh, I gotta cut myself now. Oh, it hurts. God, did I play anything else? I was kind of busy for a lot of this week. I played more Trails into Reverie. I will hopefully be able to beat that before I have to start playing Disgaea 7, but I will also probably put off Disgaea 7 until I beat Trails into Reverie. God, I love DC Douglas in these games.
Oh, he's in those?
Yes, he is. He is a very important character. Imagine like Wesker trying to sound like an internet reviewer, and that is the performance he's delivering in these games.
Oh my god.
There has never been like a DC Douglas has never chewed the scenery more than he chews them in these games. It's incredible. it's kind of sad that they got someone who is not nearly as good as him to be Wesker in the new Resident Evils.
Yeah, that's definitely the biggest like downgrade voice acting.
It is. At least it makes sense because back to separate ways for 1 second. Like you do talk to Wesker and he's like less teleporting vampire god and more like a dude.
But then in Mercenaries, he's teleporting vampire god.
What a conundrum. But yeah, it's just really refreshing to play a turn-based RPG where you go into lots of different buildings and have conversations with NPCs, and if other NPCs are with you, they will chime into the conversation if they have something relevant to say, and there's lots of fun character interactions between your parties who are all really well developed, fleshed out characters.
Huh.
I also really enjoy in general Trail's approach to turn-based to random battles, which is no, you just kill them. Just mulch them. Like if it's serious, they'll be bigger on the map. But the small guys just fucking tear their limbs off. We don't care. Delete them in under 30 seconds. Which feels pretty good when you get to the boss fight and have to actually think. Now I'm trying to think, did I play anything other than the 3 games? I'm not even that far in the story. I'm like halfway through Act 1 because it has the Trails into system where there's 3 different protagonists. The protagonist of the last set of games, the Crossbell one, the protagonist of the Cold Steel games, and then a new character. And it's like you follow these 3 stories that are occurring concurrently because this is like the wrap-up game for the first big chunk of the franchise before they go on.
Yeah, see, a giant portal opens up, okay?
No.
Thankfully, thankfully, there's no inclination. That does happen a lot in these games, but they all show up on, like, planes.
That's a little bit more reasonable.
They're all like, the fucking giant demon castle came out of the ground, and you can see it from across the continent, so we all fucking came to see what the fuck's going on.
Nice.
But yeah, I really like that game. I'm excited to play more of it. I'm excited to hear more of DC Douglas chewing the scenery and see more of the party from Cold Steel 3 and 4, which is one of my favorite parties in RPGs. And that's all I played.
Oh, I guess that means talking about Podlords?
Whoa.
Oh, fuck.
Is it true? Is it the Podlords?
It is. Yes, that's right. It's the Podlords. Podlords such as BN12, Lee Broyles. Bountiful blessings to you all.
And also
Hey,
with
Jinkari,
you.
how's it going?
Red Blaze 27, Suzu Shiro. Hour 92! Give it up for Hour 92! It is so fucking wonderful, one double over. WTF, Spider-Man. Na-na-na-na, hey, goodbye.
I almost did that for my intro bit.
Oh, see, my brain went to na, get a job.
Congratulations on 13 years of GigaBoots, and hopefully as many more to come. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I assume it's the gift that cycled and not just a random picture of Toji.
No, it's just him.
Oh,
No,
nice.
it's the gift. It's the gift.
Okay.
Nobody's clipping him. DFW 3K, Muckbun, Zoe Slumbers.
Aw.
Adorable. Kristen, fashionably late Juice of Frost. Kyle Bjork. Dewey would like to request the Podlord song be Move Under for Armored Core 4. If not, that's okay. He still loves you. Aww. Even despite my shortcomings?
Right? Crazy.
Monster Hunter Ryzen and Raiden. It's Spooky Month in 3 days. Cooper Tank. Captain Amagai may no longer be with us, but you still got bountiful blessings. I like that he's giving the thumbs up with his left arm over his right shoulder.
Right? It's rough.
A man with style.
Even at a small level, he's not planning well. Ochi, when he can't trade in his pup drive for a new iPhone. He's been stuck with the iPhone 5 for many years. Poor Ochi. Indigo Sykes. Give it up for hour 91! Every day I wake up, If you like cool Wii games like Red Steel 2, I highly recommend Sin and Punishment Star Successor. Hey Bob, I wonder which Podlord this is.
It's a mystery. We'll never find out.
We'll never find out who's the huge Sin and Punishment 2 fan in the fandom. You definitely can't search for the phrase for the title and find 230 of the posts in that Discord are for one guy.
Wow.
A group of raccoon getting ready to strike.
Why?
This is
I don't have any snacks. Leave me alone.
This is like when Bob runs up to the Five Guys in that Fate game, and then these raccoons just pour out of every part of the wall. Shinji16 heard Bob say on stream he wanted a remake of Hexen, My Brother in Christ. A medieval is right here. I don't know,
It's not a
based on this
remake
image,
of Hexen.
that looks mid.
A medieval isn't Hexen, thank fucking God. I think a medieval would have been received a little bit less favorably if more of it was, where's the Switch? Where is it?
He woke up from the dream. He said the stream was 92 hours long last night.
That's probably my favorite Junji Ito story. I think it's really interesting.
The Super Mim. You cannot grasp the true form of Karya's plan.
That's fucking right.
No one can.
This is the most deranged edit yet, just to be clear. God. Sarlene. Timothy Pfister is reluctant to fall in love with F-099 after what happened to Super Mario Bros. 35, and yet. Bearded Joe. Pleochrome. Krunglespum. Coral. Abide with Ruben Yan. Is this your card? I like multi-big think arcs. Dan, after having to get through 22 episodes of the Amagai arc in 2 months. Barges into narrative. Fucks motorcycle. Refuses to elaborate. Leaves. Me, hearing the news that Jim Ryan is finally stepping down. Out of dog.
Oh, it's a good cat, though.
That is a good cat.
Very big.
Saber, but mommy. Jesus Christ. God.
Personally, I prefer evil mommy Saber.
No, really. This is surprising. Hello, I'm Emu Bautor. Emu is meaning smile. Bautor hoy.
What the fuck is this?
Void and Oh, thank God, Jim Ryder's gone. Maybe now we can get a remake of Buzzard Squares.
Anything's possible here in the good timeline.
Thank you very much to our Pond Lords.
Thank you,
Oh,
Pod.
Lord.
Thank you, Pond Lords.
More like dead service.
Games as a graveyard.
And if you'd like to become a pod lord, you can go to our Patreon at patreon.com/gbpodcast. For as little as $5 a month, you get access to many benefits such as early access to Chugging, Bleach, and Pokemon Go to the Movies, our 2 monthly anime review podcasts. You also get extended or cut content from shows when indeed such thing exists for you to be given. You also fund a patron exclusive show every month, half public, half not. If it's a public month, it'll be a really bad thing we had to watch and then talk about. And you will get a patron exclusive commentary track for that horrible thing you should never watch, such as X-Men Origins Wolverine, Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog,
The Test.
The Test, a movie that I'm not fucking surprised you've never heard of, and more. And on the other half of the month, you get to vote on it. It's a patron exclusive show where we review and talk about a good thing, no commentary track. You also get a movie, Isolation 119, a splendiferous film wherein a man takes a trip to Thailand to solve the injuring of his brother, but mostly just gets drunk and picks fights with the locals, who are largely also white. It's very confusing. That's patreon.com/GGPodcast. And if you don't have any money, it always helps us immensely to tell your friends, rate us on Thursdays, rate us on your podcast app of choice. In fact, if you don't listen to us that way, subscribe that way and just rate us anyway. And like and leave a comment on this video on YouTube right now if you're listening that way. That's patreon.com/GBpodcast. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Big bullet point number 1 in the news.
Yeah.
The writer's strike is over.
Oh,
Whoa.
suck it, Quantum of Suck Ass.
Yeah, we don't have to watch Quantum of Solace. Oh God, I'm so fucking happy. I'm so happy we don't have to watch Quantum of Solace.
Yeah, we watch shitty movies for a living. We made it 20 minutes of Quantum of Solace and went, nah, dog.
Yeah, that was rough.
I could better spend time.
The deal is not finalized, but they got basically everything they wanted.
Yeah, the
In
bullets
fact, I
have
don't
come
think
out.
I don't think there's a single thing. And all it took was California going, we're gonna let people on strike get unemployment insurance, and it was over.
Yeah.
Like once this Cold War became unfeasible, and it was already unfeasible because a lot of members of the Actors Guild and Writers Guilds donated so much fucking money to the Keep People Alive fund.
Mm-hmm.
But this made it really unfeasible. So they went, okay, all that shit we said we'll never ever give you, it's impossible and would sink us, we're gonna give it to you. They're giving them streaming numbers, but everybody has to keep it secret. Nobody's allowed to know what these actual streaming numbers are. You're not allowed to see them unless they're directly relevant to you.
That seems a little sus.
I wonder if it's not going nearly as well as they want people to believe.
Yes, I already saw somebody just like post somebody looking really suspicious. It's like how you look when you know the numbers and Netflix is like, it's the best reviewed it's the best most watched Netflix thing in history.
Yes. Every one of those mockbusters they make, every person on staff will know.
Remember Red Notice? No, you don't. Nobody did, despite somehow it having, I think, 300 billion watched hours.
Yeah.
Excited for the Red Notice curse content.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a committee at that point because we got to put like 4 or 5 Netflix shows no one remembers.
Yes.
I'm trying to. Yeah, talk about a fucking episode that's just like trying to grasp sand.
Right.
I swear he was on screen and he made the face and I don't remember anything else. Oh my God.
I think The Rock was there, but then he wasn't.
He was there for 10 minutes and then it was Bruce Willis for the rest of the movie.
So yeah, that was big good news. The
Yeah.
Actors Guild is still on strike. They might be extending the strike to video games very soon. They voted yes, but they aren't officially on strike yet. The companies do have a chance to go, oh fuck, fine, just take it.
Right.
They have a chance to do that. They probably won't, which means we could get another games a year from now are no longer coming out a year from now. They're now 2 years from now.
Great.
And the Animation Guild renews their contract next year, and now VFX studios look like they're going to strike soon too. So
Go.
Right?
Do it. They
Do it.
all need to be way better than they are.
Oh yeah. And for people who are like, oh, this is just left-leaning politics. This doesn't actually monetarily make sense. It's like, no, David Zaslav has too much money.
Yeah.
Bust that motherfucker's knees. The people who actually make this shit deserve the money.
Right. The people at the top have irrational, inconceivable amounts of money.
Yeah. Orders of magnitude that are incredibly disproportionate.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to other news though. Yo, I hear, and this feels insane. It must have taken 24 years, but on Steam, they're finally getting PC gamers can finally play Tony Hawk 1 and 2. This is a joke before anyone writes it in the comments, but thank you for the engagement. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1+2 is coming to Steam on October 3rd, which reminded me it was an Epic Game Store exclusive, a thing that disappeared from my mind entirely.
Right. I just assumed it wasn't even on PC. But that was 3 years or something.
That was over 3 years that it remained exclusive to the Epic Game Store. I hope they enjoyed that paycheck.
good lord.
I look forward to the new era of support the game will get out of this. I see Aggro caught the last minute thing occurring right before this podcast occurred. PlayStation decided to be like, hey, VR games, and start unloading shotgun shells into the crowd.
Yeah, and just as a blog instead of actually doing a video or anything.
Yeah, just
several different blog posts.
Which makes
Luckily,
it
they all link to each other, or I would have lost Foglands in the shovel.
right. I'm going to start with the headliner. That means we now very much we know that the Foundation game, Journey to Foundation, the VR game based on Isaac Asimov's writings, will be out next month. What? All right. Hey, Aggro,
Hey,
you excited for the spoiler cast?
I mean, kind of, but are you guys going to read that book, or?
Yeah, of course.
Oh yeah. no,
I mean, I will. I don't. No one else is doing either of the things we're just.
Right,
It's
just
just
like,
you
I'm
and
not
me.
buying VR for this.
The trailer for it had some interesting feature stuff, like using gestures to interact with NPCs, as well as using eye tracking, not just to select dialogue options, but mid conversation, look around the room and unlock new conversation topics or
Oh
choices.
shit! Because they
Yeah.
know you've now seen it.
It's like, officer, you can't think I'm a murderer. Glances at knife. I mean, I'm hoping that's what it is.
Right. The blog post shows a lot of interesting stuff, but I've learned that I don't trust Sony on the highest end VR exclusives they're propping up, because they somehow took what was a really great shooter last gen and made it into an absolute biggest flop on PSVR 2 this gen, and I paid $40 for it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of cool gameplay things here, and it features so many things like haptic feedback, eye tracking, adaptive triggers, controller tracking, and 4K HDR. So that way we can have a really smart video game. I'm certain of it. I'm very excited for this because I will fall into the hole that says AAA VR. I will go under the box with the stick propping it up that has AAA VR game written in it every time. I'm not gonna learn. What about these other games though, Aggro? What else do we got?
One of them, correct me if I'm wrong, was they announced Among Us VR coming to PSVR 2. Did we not already know that?
I thought we already knew that, but that might be wrong. It might have been a meta exclusive marketing thing until now.
Oh, maybe that's
Okay,
what's up.
I thought it showed up at a state of play, but I guess I was mistaken.
I thought it
it's-
did too. So why are they pretend? Whatever.
I don't know. We still don't have
Whatever.
a date for it, but they did say it's going to be $9.99 when it launches.
Oh, wow, that's really bold. They're gonna charge $999 for Among Us. That's
Yeah, I mean it's a really premium experience.
fuck.
You can use eye tracking to. No, wait, they have those visors on. Fuck. We got a new trailer and a release date for Tiger Blade, which just, I mean, you got a gun, you got a katana, you got a grappling hook.
It's basically Red Steel.
Yeah, your Scott's
Yeah.
on.
Yes.
Can't wait.
I
November 17th.
I actually saw trailers for this a while ago, and it wasn't announced for PSVR 2, and I'm like, that looks great. It would be great if that came over to P. Oh, it is! Hooray!
Yay!
Hooray!
Heroes of Forever was announced. It is an arcade-style gallery shooter like Time Crisis or Police 911 if you had a really sick arcade.
I remember that, yeah.
It looks like, low poly, you're basically just warping into different time periods. Like there was a weird alien one. There's one that looked like a 90s Hong Kong movie. There was one that looked like World War II, but there was a giant robot. Where is it? Also has up to 4-player co-op.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Let's see, going down the list here. Tin Hearts, you might remember from already being a game. It is a Lemmings sort of game where you're kind of standing in the middle of the room and there are tin soldiers spawning and you've got to direct them to get from one end of the room to the other and, like bounce off drums and now ride a balloon and like put this book there so they'll turn left.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that is getting a demo on November 2nd. It's apparently 6 levels out of the 50 or so from the full game.
Cool.
Yeah, they said it's a narrative-based puzzle adventure, which, yeah, I guess that counts as a puzzle game.
Yeah.
Looks neat as shit. Can't wait. Journey Foundation we already covered. And then the Foglands, which is a roguelike shooter, apparently coming out October 32nd. Interesting thing about this one, it's coming out both VR and just regular FPS mode on your TV at the same time.
Huh.
Interesting. Yeah, we've actually known this was coming to PSVR 2 since February. It was shown off early on back then when they were getting people excited for this. It looks really neat. I'm glad it also has a normal way to play without the VR.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's like there are some games where that's just not a good idea.
No, yeah.
But if they can pull that off functionally, that'd be really interesting.
It would be a really good comparison point though for explaining why VR is so much cooler
Right, because
than just using a controller to play a game because I'm sorry. I'm already imagining the death stream where chat gets to decide the mode we're in, and the game just gets way less fun every time we go back to shitty normal controllers.
I know it's early, but I was already disappointed that this PlayStation Blog VR Day event did not contain the announcement of Baldur's Gate 3 for PSVR 2. Because that camera is doing some heavy lifting in that game, but there's a lot to lift, and God above, I would love to be able to just walk around my living room looking at that map from a godlike perspective.
Oh, that would be sweet. Oh, man. Well, that's it for the PSVR's PlayStation Blog's VR block. Let's move on to Bob news. Bob, I hear you got thumbnail-worthy news.
it's true. Hideki Kamiya is leaving Platinum Games on October 12th this year. That's like only a few weeks away. He's basically out.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's going to continue making games, like both the Platinum Games thing and his own tweets allude to. Yeah, I will keep doing what I'm doing somewhere, but we don't know what he's doing, where he's going.
The tweets he made it sound like the way he framed it, he says, I have to resign because of my personal
Beliefs.
morals and beliefs, which makes me think either one, that we're about to get a Platinum Games acquired announcement, or two, they're so fucking in on this service game shit that it's like nothing gets to be untouched.
Could you fucking imagine? It's just like Tencent bottom. Kamiya might be racist.
It could be anyone. It could be Tencent. It could be NetEase. It could be fucking Nintendo.
Yeah.
It could be Square Enix.
I mean, it also could be Microsoft.
I don't think
Could.
Microsoft is going to attempt shit until the books are closed on Activision.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Embracer accidentally activates the buyout.
Oh no! They hit the one-click checkout.
For people to know, he's not just like a director or game designer there. He's also the vice president of that company.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
he's insanely high.
There's something.
That makes me think that it maybe that isn't an acquisition, because I assume he'd get some fucking enormous sum of money if he stayed through an acquisition. But he's
Right.
also the kind of guy that'd be like, no, fuck you. I don't.
But he's also a lot of times with acquisitions, they have terms where you have to stay.
Yeah.
Certain people have
Yeah,
to stay
that's
certain
true.
amounts of time. So maybe he saw that print and he's like, no.
Right. He may have gotten some offer that he couldn't refuse elsewhere.
Like some sort of
think,
Capcom needs more people in their
Right,
M2 or anywhere else.
Or NetEase
See,
will
there's
make you
the-
a whole studio.
Like, everybody's expanding right now. All the smart studios are like, we're expanding our development things. We don't have enough. Meanwhile, Ubisoft's like, we have way too many. Please. We don't know how to make a game. So it could be anything. But this, I'm not inclined to believe Platinum has much time left anymore.
Yeah, if anything, my first thought hearing this news is, oh, Platinum's fucked.
Yeah, this is really worrying for them.
Because, like, I'm not even someone who thinks, like, Kamiya is a really cool, virtuous guy who's really smart and makes all the best decisions. This is just, like, they got to be doing something to drive him away, and he's vice president.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, you have to be fucking up in these specific ways for him to want to leave.
And everyone associates Platinum with him.
Yeah, for sure. Like he's there as creative director on half of their games or something. It's ludicrous how many areas he is like, well, if he's not the main guy, he is referenced somewhere in it, like, oh, he did this or he assisted something.
Yeah.
Like they try to get his name on basically every game they release.
Mm-hmm.
They sure did announce that Project GG. I think it was 2020. We haven't heard about anything about that. That's the Ultraman S game he was working on.
Yeah, I thought it'd
Yeah,
been
I think that's just gone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
now
never
it's got to be
out.
dead.
And other than that, I don't know what's coming from Platinum,
Uh-huh.
which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea. No idea.
And they got these two Bayonetta games out, and then he leaves immediately almost. Yeah, I don't know.
I have no hope for Platinum after this. I'll still look into an Astral Chain 2 unless they send up the worst flags you could imagine from trailers
Yeah,
and stuff.
something from that director specifically, I'll be like, okay, sure.
Yeah, there's him, and then the main director on Bayo 3. Those are the two like new blood people that they're there. They're like, okay, maybe this will be all right.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what they're even doing.
They don't have anything. They don't have anything announced right now except that game that's canceled now, obviously.
Right, and then the guy who worked on Metal Gear Rising was attached to Babylon's Fall. So
Uh-huh.
obviously the director can't save something if they're all going all live service.
Right, of course.
Yeah, I don't know. This does seem like real bad for them.
Man,
Man, if they're really doubling down on that live service thing, like, fucking look around, Chief. Look at the industry. We may have multiple other stories this week about things you could be observing and going, oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
let's move on.
Yeah, of course. Chadley has been confirmed for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Oh my god.
They also showed a lot of other things like fast travel and a new mini game with some sort of card game and other stuff. But I think what people really wanted to know is if Chadley was going to be in the game or not, and he's there.
Yeah, he gives Cloud the Chad module, which is basically that game's version of the overlay that shows you what things are in the world space.
Mm-hmm. That's all I got for that.
Chat heads rise up.
Shiren the Wanderer, the mystery dungeon of Serpent Coil Island.
Just barely fits on screen.
Yes. The game that was at the Nintendo Switch Direct, only in Japan, got announced for a US release. So it's coming to West in February 27th. So I was like, okay, that's coming over here. Now where's the Goemon game? See, The Legend of Legacy HD is coming out, being remastered for PS5, PS4, and Switch in 2024. This is a 2015 3DS game. Has a pretty neat art style, though. Probably check it out. It's worked on by some of the people who worked on the DS Dragon Quest games. And a bunch of other stuff throughout the years, like Metal Max and other stuff.
Excited for anything to escape the 3DS.
Yeah. It's one of those games that had a really nice art style, and it was like, well, too bad it stuck there. And then my last thing, Horizon Forbidden West Complete Edition was announced. It's going to be $60. Comes out October 6th for PS5. It comes with Burning Shores, the expansion pack, and a digital soundtrack art book and comic book. And also it's coming to PC early next year. We don't know exactly when. The port's being done by Nix's.
Okay, so it'll be quality.
Right.
Like, those guys have literally missed never. Cool. That's it for Bob News. Chris?
Oh boy.
Right.
Okay, well, I'll just go in whatever fucking order I please.
Okay.
This happened right as we went live. That KOTOR remake's apparently canceled. They have taken down all blog posts referencing it on official sources. They've taken down all the trailers. Option 1, it's canceled. Option 2, they're about to re-announce it, be like, it got rebooted with a totally fucking different studio. None of that. Nothing even remotely similar to what we showed you is accurate.
Yeah, I mean, it changed studios entirely over a year ago now.
Right.
So either it's dead or they need to rebrand entirely.
It's so weird to delete the trailers and stuff. That feels like it almost never happens. Plus, I'm sure Embracer's about to shut down Aspire.
Right.
Yeah.
Aspire, yeah.
Yeah, Aspire. So yeah, I stream, it dies. That's how this shit seems to work.
Why are you like this? I mean, look, we can all agree though that this power is for good, because that time you took your camera over to Jim Ryan's house and just interviewed him was really important for the entire industry. Yeah, they need to put out a press release to clarify what this means,
Right.
because I assume dead.
Yeah, maybe maybe there's going to be another state of play and we're going to see it again real soon.
Uh-huh.
Maybe
The Game Awards, yay!
I sure hope that happens, because I really do want that to come out so I can be like, look, they because that game is fucking a saltine. You could add some fucking seasoning to it with a remake. Nvidia's French offices were raided by authorities over non-competitive practices. Who the fuck knows what that means?
Apparently it was regarding cloud computing.
Okay.
I'm very interested what they could physically find in their offices that would lead to anti-competitive practices in cloud computing. That, especially since it's Nvidia, not Amazon.
They announced Time Spinner 2.
Oh, I guess I gotta go play Time Spinner 1.
No, you don't. Maybe Time Spinner 2 will be better. Time Spinner 1 is like what I picture in my brain when it's one of those games that's like, look at this gorgeous sprite art indie game. There's a demo. They've been working on it for 4 years. And then they crowdfund and they're like, oh fuck, we have to actually make the rest of the game now instead of repeatedly polishing this chunk we already made. So you get through like the first 30 minutes of that game and the quality like falls off a cliff.
Uh-huh.
Because it's not shit they spent years and years polishing. And it's like, nothing in that trailer implied this wasn't going to be the same thing.
Yeah,
So,
it looked so weirdly like it was more of the same stuff, even with the same art and things. Like I thought that it being 2 would look different at all, and it doesn't seem to. Also, I thought that the pixel artist might get better at making portrait art. That didn't happen.
yeah, it's just like one notch below par. It's like guys, Sea of Stars just came out. You got to do a little bit better now. I'm sorry. Like we're past the early 7th gen, early 8th gen days where it's like, well, if you squint, it kind of looks like an old game.
Mm-hmm.
Like you kind of have to do better nowadays.
Yeah, the bar's been moved, for sure.
Chris Metzen's in charge of Warcraft again.
Chris, who's Chris Metzen?
Well, he used to be in charge of Warcraft, and then he left the company, and they fucked up every single thing about Warcraft since then. And then they said, Chris Metzen, please come back. Please come back to fix Warcraft. And he went, okay.
Chris Metzen, with your nose so bright, could you guide my fucking company? We're dying.
He actually came back in September of last year, a year ago. No, it was December last year, where he's a creative advisor for the Warcraft franchise, and now he is executive creative director of the Warcraft universe.
Cool. Good for him.
This is like if 2 years from now they're like, Jeff Kaplan's back to fix Overwatch 2.
Oh, God.
No, bring Chris Metzen in to fix Overwatch 2. I want to play Sarfang in Overwatch.
God damn it.
Like Luke Skywalker said, no one's ever really gone. But you know, the state of Warcraft has been dire for a while. And BlizzCon is next month. Well, not next month, but November, about a month from now. So maybe they'll reveal something big. They apparently already cut Dragonflight, the current WoW expansion, like short. They're like, normally there's 3 big patches. This is only getting 2.
Yeah, it's like his advice of the creative of this game for the year leading up to this. Don't do that. They won't. Don't do that. Okay.
So it's entirely possible they announce the next WoW expansion at this BlizzCon.
Well, at very least, me and Bob have escaped being trapped in a WoW trailer that will never end during opening night live. It's just,
Man,
Yeah, it'll be at the Video Game Awards this time.
I hope that they do Warcraft 4. That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
That'd be cool.
I might, if it's a new expansion, I might even go check it out. I'll be like, sure, whatever. Maybe he'll even fix all the. Maybe he'll even fix the thing that broke the game, or at least put in a class like a classic servers for a version of the game I like. And then I'll be trapped in hour 92, where it's like we're going live again with Mists of Pandaria Classic.
Oh my God!
Today I'll be gathering herbs for 6 hours so I can level alchemy on this alt.
So, knowing things about your life, how does it feel to have come full circle, but now strangers on the internet watch you?
Pretty good, honestly.
Right?
Let's see. So there's this game called Banishers Ghosts of New Eden.
This is made by the Remember Me team, right?
Is it?
Is it Don't Nod?
I think it is. I'm not sure. There's 2 different
I think
ones.
it's Focus Entertainment.
Okay.
It's an action game that is maybe Soulsian. It had very Soulsy looking shit in it.
I'm starting.
And
to
you had
just-
like the Estus counter for healing. So I assume it's a Soulsy type thing. Anyway, it was going to come out November 7th, and then they looked at what was coming out around then and went, "Oh, we're moving to February 13th." And then I guess didn't look around that and went, "Oh,
Right. I double checked. This is Don't Nod.
Yeah.
this is more choosing where you get to die than like making a decision that meaningfully alters your fate."
Right.
Yeah. No, I'll launch next to what?
Oh, well, we'll move. That's okay. We'll launch here next to. Oh my God.
Can we delay it again? Can we delay it another? You guys just put it in March. Nothing's in March as far as we know. Come on. A bunch of fucking Netflix shit got shown.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They showed a teaser of the DMC Netflix. It looks like it'll be a prequel pop, probably because he looks like DMC3 Dante and doesn't have Ebony and Ivory yet. It's by Studio Mir. They did Voltron, Korra, and that new Superman show that nobody actually watches.
People watch it.
There's also a fucking Tomb Raider show, which is explicitly reboot Tomb Raider. Wrong decision.
Yeah, what were they thinking?
And it is by Legendary Television, which made that Pacific Rim show nobody watched and that King Kong show nobody watched.
No, those two literally no one watched. Yeah.
Yeah, that is absolutely the case.
And then they showed a trailer for Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon remix, which comes out October 19th.
Rayman, I guess, is going to be a recurring character in that.
Yeah, they were
I guess.
It being Blood Dragon means we can do zany things. Here's a billion Ubisoft references, and Rayman's a main character? Is that really?
You gonna make a new Rayman game, assholes? You gonna make a new Rayman game?
Yeah, right after Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Oh. So Sega has canceled Hyenas, all capital letters. If you don't know what that is, I don't blame you.
Right,
but if
fair.
you don't know what that is, it was a Sega live service nightmare where you picked hideous-looking hero classes and ran around like a derelict space station picking up 80s and 90s memorabilia. Like that was the goal. You had you ran around like, oh look, it's a fancy it's a 16-bit Sonic Genesis statue. Oh, get big money. Canceled. It never got out of beta. Dead before. Well, we're gonna have to update the fucking Dead on Arrival online game award this year to the never came out online game award.
We're
dead before arrival.
I don't know. It might be an easier to decide category if we say live service game that survived this year. It's like, what is it? No, we can't nominate Fortnite again. That's cheating. God, yeah. People were not hot on the beta. I've heard people talk about it like, I think, what was it? Jeff Gerstmann talked about it? I can't remember. But they were like, not especially hot on the beta. I'm like, oh, I'm excited to check that out at some point. No, apparently not.
Not for you.
They also announced some other shit that was in development that we didn't announce are also now canceled.
I wonder if they were more live service games.
Man,
it is the reaping season.
If the end of this year is just all that shit dying completely, like everybody gives up, I'll be so happy.
It feels great.
Yeah, it feels like that's what's happening.
Anyways, good luck to Sony's game. Ham sandwich on a spaceship.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about Watch Dogs, but
Fair
Heist
Games.
Yeah, Fair Games.
Helldivers.
That's the Jade
2.
Raymond one, and the
Yeah,
Helldivers.
Concord.
That's the name of hand sandwich. The game.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a bold statement. And say we're probably never fucking seeing Concord again.
Probably not.
Yeah, I feel like the only one of those that will actually launch is probably Marathon.
Fair Games is supposedly almost done, so
that's what they say.
Come out.
They said that shit was supposed to launch by the end of the year. They also said that about Helldivers 2, and that got pushed. So
Helldivers 2 is definitely coming out.
Yeah,
but it was supposed to come out by the end of the year, and it is no longer, is what I'm saying. So Helldivers is coming out. Fair Games, we haven't seen fucking anything of that, but it's supposed to be close to done. Question mark.
In other He Lied news,
real quick, was that before? Did they say that before Bungie visited Jade Raymond's studio? Because maybe
we don't know. We don't know when they visited Jade Raymond's studio, do we?
No.
Let them all be canceled. I want it to be a fucking wasteland.
Yeah, it'd be so good.
So Tim Sweeney's a bitch ass liar.
Oh, why's that?
So all this year, every time a tech company did layoffs, Tim Sweeney like sweatily ran up into the replies, and he's like, "You don't really have to do layoffs. You just want to. You CEOs love to say you're tightening your belts when other people have to pay for it. Here's me posting a picture of a shield wall and saying this is Epic Games during a recession. We won't give up a single job. Blah 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 blah." Well, guess who just laid off 16% of their workforce?
Oh, 16%. That seems like a small amount. Do we have a hard number?
870.
Oh, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of goddamn people. That is an insane amount of fucking people.
It's almost like Epic is huge.
Huh.
So they laid off 870 people, according to Tim Sweeney. Very few of them were in quote unquote core development roles. Remember last year when we said they bought Bandcamp for no reason? We were like, why the fuck did you buy Bandcamp, Tim Sweeney?
Yeah.
They didn't know either. Because they sold it. They have sold it to a marketing company that's probably gonna fuck it up left, right, center, backwards, forwards.
Man, acquisitions fucking suck.
Yeah, they do.
They had some marketing bullshit thing called Super Awesome that is now almost entirely detached also. Sweeney says, we invested too much money in stupid fucking bullshit like buying Bandcamp. Ooh woo.
Yeah, it's not an investment when it's that stupid, asshole.
Right. That's just you went on shopping spree.
We're pivoting to selling user-created content that we only get 60% of the sales of, so our margins are lower. We don't have as much money. Ooh woo woo. So Mediatonic, the people who made Fall Guys, that really fucking successful game, they got acquired by Epic like 6 months after that game came out. It wasn't that long after. They're gutted. Like almost the whole studio, I think, got laid off. And that game was big and successful and about to do a fucking collaboration with Final Fantasy 14. So it's not like that game isn't still making money. But that's the thing about these acquisitions. You can be the most successful fucking division in the world. But if some dickhead in a corporate suite says, well, we're simplifying. We want to focus on our core practices. Your ass will get cut for no fucking reason. I assume development of this game will just switch to other people they're keeping. But Jesus Christ, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Allegedly, that studio is not completely closed, but of course, it was an insane amount of layoffs.
I mean, people in the office have rearranged the letters Mediatonic to Decimation because they have the fucking wooden letters for their name. So that's just sitting in their office right now. Yeah. Yeah, that sucks. I'm so sick of this shit.
Right.
Fuck you, Tim Sweeney. What the fucking Bandcamp then? Like, on top of everything else, that one's the most like, why did you buy it?
Yeah, what were you even doing?
What was your plan? Tim? Yes, I hear you talk up the Jokai crest, but I'm not sure it's gonna do anything. If anyone's wondering why he looks the way he does in the thumbnails, because I told Photoshop to make him angry. What a good feature they charge people for.
We talked about the Tim Sweeney shit a little bit. We should probably talk about it a little more.
You
I
mean
feel like we didn't go very.
You mean the Jim Ryan thing?
Yeah.
Yes, the Jim Ryan shit.
Yeah, we talked about the Tim plenty, but what about the Jim? Let's do it.
Jim Ryan's leaving Sony in March of next year. He's being replaced by, I forget the name, a very, very long time, like almost founder of Sony guy who, like, he joined Sony in '85.
But yeah, he's like the interim guy when they find
Hiroki
someone.
Totoki. Yeah, but the fact that like it's weird that it's so long and they're also going to somebody who's explicitly interim, which makes me think it's less I'm warming the chair until we find somebody and more I gotta right this fucking ship and hire someone who will continue my game plan.
Like, oh, I've decided to retire. I'm like, no, I think they're throwing your ass out onto the street and tossing the burning rags of your tawdry fucking live service shill after you.
There's like PlayStation under Jim Ryan made a lot of mistakes. Like all that live service stuff is one mistake. The singular focus on shit like Horizon and the absolute biggest, most successful games, re-release them over and over and over was a mistake. Shutting down Sony Japan was a mistake. You should have fixed that studio instead of shut it down. Like just closing it was a major like even if they were terrible, find new people and build a new one. There's like a PR element to that studio existing that you just tossed out.
Hmm.
And frankly, based on the numbers we have, Sony ain't doing so fucking hot in Japan. So I imagine at some level the other leadership was like, we're not turning into fucking Xbox in what is still technically our home market, guys. We need to identify the problems here and try and fix it.
Not just simply not care.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. It's really funny because I believe he said living in Europe but working basically out of the United States is very complicated.
Uh-huh.
And he's looking forward to, spending more time at his home in Europe. And I'm like, that's why?
Yeah.
Is that? A lot of people don't realize, like, he basically has only been over Sony for the tail end of the PS4 and the PS5.
Yeah.
So when you think about what defines Jim Ryan's career, it's greenlighting 10 fucking games as a service games, live service games. It's not even these cinematic third-person high-fidelity AAA games.
No, that's not him.
Returnal and its price point it came out as is definitely him, because that game was in a short enough development cycle and the price point doesn't make any fucking sense. $70 for Returnal made sense to literally no human on Earth. Because that is not a God of War Ragnarok. That's not a Gran Turismo 7. You sent that game out to die at the wrong price point. You were going to charge 70 for fucking PlayStation. Wait, what is it called? Destruction All-Stars.
Yeah, there's all those choices. There's the bad performance in Japan, which I think
That is him.
like,
Yeah.
like the Japan studio shutting down. Like, you get this in the United States too. We've talked about this before, where it's like if Tencent bought Xbox fans would like start carving swastikas into their forehead. Like they would not accept that. I'm sure the perceived westernization of Sony caused problems with their Japanese audience.
I know for a fact it does. I've heard many Japanese people on message boards expressing exactly that.
Mm-hmm. And it's not even
shutting down just Sony Japan and just no, we just don't have a Japanese studio anymore. Get fucked.
Oh, well, they do,
Like-
but they won't brand it as one. They just want to call it Team Asobi.
right. And they're
So like
a dev studio, like a small one compared
Right.
to what you might expect from Sony.
I mean, Sony Japan was small for the longest time. That's why they
true.
co-develop games, because
Mhm.
they can't really make their own outside of Gravity Rush 2, in Knack 2, their magnum opuses of 8th gen.
and
Also, he brought
And,
an
like-
era of being Europe centric, was always focusing on Horizon.
No, we needed a lot. We needed a VR game, a multiplayer game,
Uh-huh.
an
As well-
MMO,
a weird MMO that's being... Who's making that? NetEase?
ArenaNet.
ArenaNet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane, bro. Make an Ape Escape. Just one. Like, that's better as a decision than making all these Horizon things, I feel like.
Yeah, and like it has to be these fucking service things being a large part of why Jim Ryan's getting bounced. Because
I mean,
like 4 days ago, he had that weird. We're gonna continue making those big, pretty third-person games that make millions of dollars every single time we release one. We promise we're gonna keep doing that. It makes me think, oh, none of those service games are gonna work out, are they?
yeah,
Like,
I mean, we've been sitting here, 4 months straight of bad news about the development of these live service games. 4 months straight of this. May was when Bungie started going around and shutting shit down.
That means he was also over every one of those acquisitions of a studio that was brand new and untested
Yes.
to make one of these service games.
Yes.
So they've wasted a ton of money doing that and buying Bungie, whose only thing they've contributed is apparently been telling them, no, you shouldn't release any of these games.
he also like Forspoken's still on him. That's still a deal he signed. Buying the devs of Concrete Genie and then decapitating them earlier this year
Right. And
because their game wasn't good enough by whatever standards they had set.
right, and that's the thing. He needs every game to be the same tier of game. Like Returnal clearly has a half of the game that's shoved in to make it more like the rest of Sony's catalog. The house shit is not congruent with the rest of that game.
Yeah, and it would probably be half the budget without it
Right.
in a better game.
And a better game. That was a $40 game when it came out and it didn't have the house shit. That would have done so much better.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
in the pet like since we've been doing Big Think Dimension, I don't think Sony has released like a single thing I'd call like a mid-tier game. Like the closest is like stuff like Concrete Genie and Stray, but those have prestige elements of being really strongly narrative.
They released exactly one. Astro's Playroom.
The packing game.
Yeah.
So I imagine like the other executives were like, we're focusing on all this shit that's bombing everywhere else in the industry, and that the people you bought to be the overseers are saying is bad. You've made us so hyper fixated on one type of game that it's hurting us in specific regions that maybe don't like that fucking kind of game as much. It just feels like Jim Ryan is has almost been as destructive as Phil Spencer.
Yeah, but at least they're kicking him out.
Right. Yeah, no. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like saying Phil Spencer is the only destructive force at Microsoft, an entity that is nothing but entropy for good products, is really giving him too much credit. Because Don Matrick was there right before him.
Right.
It feels like two, maybe three people will just rapid fire ruined the end of the 360 in the beginning of the Xbox One, and then Phil Spencer comes in. It's like, what's your radical idea? And he's like, I hope the Netflix model works. We should buy studios because we can't make any. They made one, and then they made them make Gears.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm so fucking glad Jim's gone. Fuck Jim. He's the worst. I feel like every person who's trying to be generous to be like, maybe Jim wasn't all bad. I'm like, no, literally every positive I've heard every single person say, credit to Sean Layden. He didn't greenlight the Ghost of Tsushima. That shit was years of development before Jim Ryan takes over.
In fact, I don't think anything that Jim Ryan would have greenlit has come out yet.
Right. Spider-Man 2.
Right.
Good job, Jim. You had a real fucking vision there.
I don't even think that. I think even that was probably greenlit before him.
I mean, maybe
When
just
did he
barely,
become head of Sony?
It would have been sometime in 2018.
2019. So Spider-Man was already out and successful. So no shit, it was already greenlit.
Right. I mean, obviously, even if it was his decision, it's like, no shit, fucking Jim, you should make Spider-Man 2.
So I'm kind of worried that that they're now looking at like what it's coming out over the next 3 years of PlayStation. All this shit that is too bad to ship, that is in a genre that is dead.
Well, here's the great news about that. You know what that means? They're going to have to start greenlighting a lot smaller things and start co-funding a lot of smaller things.
Was this his plan?
No.
It wasn't his plan.
It's the new guy's
God's
plan. It's the new guy's
God's-
escape plan.
It's God's plan, and I'm starting to believe.
Right?
Nothing like we beat on CG trailers constantly on this show. If they do like a PlayStation showcase and it's like, here's a bunch of smaller games that obviously aren't anywhere near done CG trailers. Like, here's Ape Escape. We're bringing back some kind of RPG with a remake or a remaster. Here's like 3 other things. I'm gonna clap like seal. I'm gonna be like, oh, the pivot is real.
Of course, because that would not only be a change of the plan, it would also be new for Sony. Sony doesn't do a lot of CG trailers and then not deliver, except for Concord, which is not coming
Fair
out.
games.
Yeah, Fair Games was also.
I feel like Fair Games might come out. Concord isn't. There's like hell would freeze over if Concord came out. That's the one, and obviously KOTOR remake.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
Apparently
it's looking like maybe not. So yeah, of course, there's a state of play where they announce a bunch of new games. One that would be radical for Sony because under Jim they've just stopped talking to everyone.
Yeah, it's been crazy going through the last few years of just nothing.
The entire
Nothing.
Jim run is us just on radio silent for no reason.
Mm-hmm. And apparently, though, these games are going well.
Well, yeah, no, there's a reason over there, but there's no reason to not even acknowledge Spider-Man 2 until 4 months before it launches.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There's no reason to not acknowledge the Wolverine game you talked about 2 years ago is still in development.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not PS4 Sony. That's a new Sony.
Yeah, and also Jim just has that ire for classic game catalog that's been
Makes no sense.
Yeah, it makes no sense, and we've been hearing about it since before he even took over.
Right.
Like every time old games came out, it was like, no, why would anyone play that?
Yeah.
It's
So
like they launched a fucking tier of this bullshit service supposed to be about that, and then didn't fucking release anything in it.
And didn't even talk about it after they launched it.
right, they
Like,
don't make a deal out of it. Like, look at Nintendo. They're not doing that. They're not being like, coming up this next month in something anyone cares about.
Right, they're not making Power Thirst ads like Nintendo is.
Yeah, why did they do that for Excitebike 64? What the fuck was that about? But anyway,
But
ignoring the Power Thirst ad.
It worked.
It's true. We're talking about it, so clearly it had an effect. If anyone comes up to me, hey, do you know a great place to play Excitebike 64? I will know beyond a shadow of a doubt that's on their expansion pack. Yeah, they are not managing it well, and somebody who's overly generous to Jim Ryan, in a way I would never be, still said, Jim Ryan is undoubtedly the worst CEO PlayStation has ever had, and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's not even close.
Bring me back Jack Tretton.
Kevin Baker, Kevin Baker was his name, right? The fake
Kevin Butler.
Kevin Butler. Kevin Baker's the director of Isolation 119. Kevin Butler. Kevin Butler's a fake CEO, and he's a better CEO,
Right?
than Jim Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane how bad of a CEO he's been.
Yeah.
He has no claim to any of the good things that Sony has made. He has all the claims to all of the horrible things on the horizon.
Including all that Horizon.
Yep.
God, wouldn't it be funny if they're just like, no, all those Horizon projects are canceled.
Yeah, they're
Except
working on
for
Horizon 3. Why would we make all this?
Yeah.
I mean, one of those is even being made at Gorilla.
Yeah.
What?
I'm
Actually, maybe two of them.
They were co-developing the MMO, and now it seems more hands-off, like they're making that, or they are making the multiplayer game, but it sounds like someone else might be supporting and doing the thrust of that, because
Okay,
that's how all of these things go.
Right, because I saw the weird early leaks of like our Monster Hunter like thing. And then I know they're also the shooter that's rumored to be in the universe. Yeah.
But yeah, that's fuck you, Jim Ryan.
Oh yeah, and then his magnum opus was raising the price of everything PlayStation Plus.
Yeah, I
Which
won't
everyone
be surprised.
hated. Go ahead.
You can buy the Portal already, right?
Yes. Wait, the
no,
pre-orders
you
went
can
up.
pre-order.
Pre-orders. So you can put money on it.
I won't be surprised if it's like, yeah, we're doing one fucking shipment of those and then never having any of those made ever again.
I mean, if they're still selling it by this time this next year, I'll be surprised. But
like that's definitely a bonehead. Like, just so much of Jim Ryan's shit, and this is the thing that lots of people have pointed out, not just me. These fucking tech morons are like,
yeah.
that dude's doing something, I'm gonna do it. And it's like,
Yeah.
but he's not successful doing it. And it's like, he'll be successful when I do it.
Right, it's a big thing that's happening, so obviously it's successful, even if it's not.
Oh man, if there was only a really brilliant book about some godlike figure shrugging, written by a brilliant woman who's not a hypocrite, about rich people chasing the other business exercises of other rich people without finding out if it's a good idea first.
Yeah, it's like so much of Jim Ryan's tenure has been like, let's do what Microsoft's doing. And I'm like, guys, they're not successful. They're barely a competitor. Why are you copying them?
Yeah, they are the distant third.
Hey, at very least, they didn't devalue anything they're doing. Even if they did, fuck them. Fuck Sony. So anyways, this whole segment is why when I see someone in chat or maybe in the comments be like, someone worse will replace him. No,
there's never been anyone worse.
Shut the fuck up. Like, yes, it's entirely possible that every day we live on Earth, gravity may cease to exist one day and we all float into space. But for now, please sound a little more sane.
Yeah, like, again, Hiroki Totoki taking over. Like, that has the energy of, I am going to set up a business plan and put someone in this chair to enact my fucking plan. Like, this doesn't come off like I'm seat warming until we find someone good. you don't get like a long-term veteran to do that.
I'm very interested in who the next person will be because it really feels like Jim Ryan literally, and you can see this. This isn't like sometimes you get crazy talk from fanboys, like really fucking crazy, like, oh, this person clearly fucked over all these people, and you could tell. It is clear Jim Ryan put the media presence of everyone else who could be competition to him eventually. Like, he lowered the volume on literally everyone in Sony.
Yeah, Shuhei Yoshida, I hardly hear about. I know about things he does because I follow him on Twitter, and that's it.
Yeah.
And he's also doesn't tweet not much.
Yeah. Like, everyone else inside of Sony that was an important figure has had the volume turned on to them hardcore. Like, just way down. To the point where it's like, name someone other than Shuhei who's still there.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, all of those people who left Sony did so when Sean left.
Yeah, like when Adam Boys and Gio Corsi,
Yeah. Like, I could have that timeline wrong, but it really does seem like they all just sort of got out.
I feel like it was just a few, like maybe a year or two after, but yeah, it was very shortly.
Also, I forgot to mention during the Epic segment that very high up people in Fortnite left right before this news. They left like a week or two ago. So
man, even Fortnite is dying, like to some degree. The power is lessening. So live service games as a whole, just
it's good.
It's good. It really seems like the Epic shit was like Tim Sweeney going, well, obviously Fortnite will continue to grow and make more money every quarter forever. To be concluded.
They were expecting something. Who knows what? Bob made. Go ahead.
I was going to say, whoops, the bounding of a finite physical universe.
Oh, we hit maximum saturation? What do you mean? How could that happen?
Bob made the joke during one of our streams yesterday when we found out. So thus during the Dragon Quest 1 stream, that Mark Cerny takes over, and I'm like, that dude's a contractor. He isn't even in Sony.
Yeah, it's the same thing that happened when when
Ken Kuragi left. People made the joke of, no, Ken, I'm asking you to get out of my office.
Mark Cerny would probably do fine. Mark Cerny knows what good video games are.
I assume he could, but he doesn't want to.
Yeah, no, the whole reason he's a contractor is he doesn't want to deal with fucking corporate bullshit.
Right? I'm really hoping somehow Shuhei Yoshida just takes over. That'd be incredible.
Now the dream goal is the moonshot is fucking Mark Cerny taking over.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. You think Phil Spencer's a cult of personality? Just wait. You put Mark as the CEO of PlayStation, of SIE? Holy shit, that's not even to make sense anymore, the memes that come out of that.
The people are not ready for the church lady,
right,
to be the main character of Sony.
Yeah. You're not ready. You're not prepared. They're gonna the memes about ears will never end.
When I got my new iPhone, I put in I set up my earpods. It's like, you should scan your ear. I'm like, Mark Cerny, are you in from my house?
Oh my god! What? Why did your new phones like take pictures of your ears? I need this. All right. But yeah, literally anyone would be better than Jim Ryan. The only person who debatably wouldn't be is Phil Spencer, and I think we're safe.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening.
Sony isn't really a corporate structure in the same way that Microsoft is, so it's not like we could get someone from the spreadsheets division.
Yeah, we've never seen them do the weird outside hire thing either. Of like,
right.
Oh yeah, this guy's gonna come in and take over.
I mean, there's a first time for everything. In fact, wait, we did have a guy over not SIE, not PlayStation, but all of Sony that was that for a little bit there.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember his name. He was the head of the Make.Believe era.
Oh.
Yeah, I
can't remember.
He was also some British dude, if I remember correctly. Howard something? I don't know. Anyways. You mean Phil? No, I don't mean Phil Harrison. Phil Harrison wishes he got to be Sony's CEO.
Right?
Phil Harrison is just sitting in a cut cave. He's been there for over a decade.
How long do you think Jim Ryan's working at Meta?
God. Oh, you know, it'd be really weird. hire from an external company.
Yeah.
They get that guy who founded Naughty Dog, who's at Meta.
Jason Rubin?
Yeah. They get Jason Rubin to come back and be like, I'm running Sony. It's like, didn't you crash land THQ or something?
That's my job.
And that's when every PlayStation gamer starts sweating. They're like, oh God.
Right.
Oh no.
I liked seeing
Nah,
like
he's gonna get hot. He's gonna be the head of Embracer soon.
that's true. He has to. He has to fulfill the prophecy.
He's like, come on, I'm so tired of finding a home for these developers.
I lost my train of thought. Oh well.
Something about Jason Rubin. Jason
Oh,
Rubin
I was
would be good.
like the fan response to this. I feel like has been nothing but positive.
All right.
Like you only see the once in a while crazy journo being like, "No, Jim Ryan was important and good." It's like no, most Sony fanboys are like, "Oh, thank God."
I mean, the guy I was talking about earlier, Mystic Ryan, he was the one who was being too generous to Jim, and even he was like, he's the worst CEO they've ever had. And I'm like that's the generous take.
Think of it this way. Realistically, if you play games, you probably own a Sony platform. At least one.
Yeah.
And every single joke is, why is there so much fucking Horizon shit? Why is there so much fucking Horizon shit? Make something else, Sony. Make something else, Sony. From everybody. You have to remember that most of these people are not weird haters. They probably fucking own PlayStations. So it's just like, damn, you made like, who were you trying to, what, literally, come on, what was his plan?
We will never know.
He's going to make 10 times infinite money with these live service games.
Launch 10 live.
Like, look at the chart. It's just I've drawn a dollar sign, and there's an arrow, and if you'll reference the arrow, you'll see that it's pointed up. And I have been told that this is how business.
I'm honestly wondering if there was, because the industries have like internal market research things that don't release their shit publicly. You just give that shit to the CEOs, and they get paid big bucks. I'm wondering if some report didn't come in that's like, guys, you have as many people playing games as you're gonna.
Well, there's that angle of it, and there's the angle of
There could also be the angle of like, our market research says this service shit is done.
right, and it clearly hasn't been if you read the fucking room, but I guess you pay these market research people millions of dollars to read the fucking room for you.
Right.
Cause like that hyenas thing, for them to cancel it now, they are conceding that the couple of months to finish it and support it for like 6 months, it will not even make enough money to cover that.
Right.
Right.
Like they made the decision, any more money into this will be a loss.
Yeah, the only recent-ish service game I think of that what saw some success is at Naraka Blade Point. I was like, yeah, that's going for a different thing. It's not a shooter. Like, it sounds like every one of these Sony ones was a shooter.
Yeah.
What?
And
Fall Guys did okay, but that was 3 years ago, and now they're decapitated.
yeah, I mean all the Sony greenlit ones,
Right.
like made by Sony, all of those.
Yeah,
were
those all
shooters.
seem to be shooters.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry to think of anything that was successful, and it probably wasn't a shooter because that's such a saturated market now.
And it's really funny to have fucking Bungie give the last call on all these live service games. It's like, just so you know, we're making Marathon. You're literally gonna have to compete with us.
Yeah. Right.
It's like the villain of a shonen anime. It's like, go tell the hero what you think their odds are.
Right.
Like I don't even know if Marathon will succeed.
Yeah, I'm not,
Yeah, I mean,
no
it has the
confidence in
best
that.
chance because it's
and if
made
it
by
does
Bungie
succeed-
and it's based on a pre-existing name, and they did well with Destiny. I don't know that
Yeah,
anyone
and
else
if it-
has as good a chance as Marathon. So
If it
good
does
luck,
succeed,
everybody.
will it be at the expense of Destiny? Like, will just a bunch of Destiny people move?
I mean, that's entirely possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once again, what was it? The physical boundaries of a limited universe.
Yeah, there's a thing. There's a thing that Marks. Yes, I'm fucking bringing up Marks. When's the last time you saw a video game podcast start talking about fucking Marks? And not Kirby Marks. Called diseconomies of scale, which is basically when economies of scale quit working.
Oh, you're
Like,
talking
you
about
can
Karl
no-
Marx. Okay.
Yes, Karl Marx. You can no longer make more money by scaling up your business.
Mm-hmm.
And Marx even pointed out, yeah, this is going to happen. And when it starts happening, leadership will just lose their mind. They won't know what to do. Like, it'll be like if you woke up and fucking up was down and black was white.
Or, the gravity of the earth stopped working, and also Sony found someone worse than Jim Ryan to run things.
So we're at that point. Like, I've been very resistant to the idea of the second video game crash.
Mhm.
I'm sure I've expressed this multiple times live on streams on Big Think Dimension. I'm starting to come around. It seems like everybody's just marching towards a massive market, like a bunch of big publishers just go.
Oh, yeah, a bunch of big publishers, sure. But here's the thing. We have the middle tier and the low tier.
Mm-hmm.
The game industry will not die. But the
But it will
great
be a thing
dinosaurs
will
that
be
once
called the
roamed
second
it.
crash.
Right, of course, because if Call of Duty doesn't come out every year, then the West has fallen. Yes.
Like the biggest event plausible is just a giant top end contraction where we have entire arenas like as you said, we have this large and scale that just disappears.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it'll be like we cut to Microsoft, everybody's a skeleton. We cut to Sony, everything's on fire. And then we cut to Nintendo and they're just all like hanging out. It's like, something happening?
Yeah, it
Hey,
does
how
feel
many
like
co- how
they'll
many
be completely unfazed by any sort of high-end crash.
Mm-hmm.
How many copies did that Princess Peach game sell? Oh, 34 million.
Oh, that's cool. I bet you guys spent a lot of money on it. Not really. Oh. That's okay.
I'm never gonna get over how many copies Luigi's Mansion 3 has sold.
Right.
That's just like a bat you can use to hit the rest of the industry forever. Like, any day I expect them to be like, yeah, Pikmin 4 sold like 12 million copies.
But yeah, that's the thing. At the end of the day, like a giant tier fallout of an order that is absolute, right?
Mm-hmm.
EA gone.
Yeah.
Ubisoft gone. Microsoft gone. Sony barely there. Somehow that happens, which Microsoft being gone more likely than you think.
I mean, pretty likely. You should probably think about it. Because last
Phil
week we covered
Spencer-
Phil Spencer's like, I'm about to leave. That doesn't work out.
Phil Spencer literally says there's a number on a whiteboard of Game Pass subs, and if we're not there by 2027, we're out.
That's okay though, because I heard people tell me he definitely lied in the context of that conversation to the U.S. government. Anyway, what I'm saying is, if all of these things happen, you know what will happen with these consoles, these, the remaining ones, is that we probably don't get a PS6 in 2028. It comes later because this thing plays everything else fine.
Yeah,
You focus on cost reducing.
Right, I
this.
was going to say it'd probably be the PS5 Slim Slimmer.
Right, and obviously by that point, the Pro has been out for 4 years because I don't think there's a world where next year we don't get the Pro. That would be insane. If we do not get a Pro by the end of next year, even though all of those leaks and everything have happened, that means people read the room. Like I was saying, it's like, you're going to have to charge how much for that Pro?
Yeah.
These consoles are powerful. There are only a few games they don't run, and they're all shitty quadruple A Western bullshit. Because even the Sony games that are quadruple A run well.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man 2 is going to have ray tracing on every mode.
Oh, God, Insomniac is built different.
They really actually are.
But see, I had this unbelievably hilarious timeline in my brain where it's like, Switch 2, the new iPhones, people are going to want to hit those, so games aren't going to be much higher spec than those. What if the PS5 Pro is just the most powerful console forever? They just never make a gaming platform more powerful than the PS5 Pro. Until like 2040.
Yeah, if we have a top end developer publisher fallout, then there's no argument for a PS6 at all. There's barely an argument right now. So definitely, it's extended out 2030, 2032 or something. Because this would be catastrophic. And then Sony would put all their efforts into, but no, seriously, how cheap can we make this? So anyways, thank you, Jim Ryan, for getting the fuck out. So that way we can spend a good bit of time imagining how Sony could easily fix their image, their lineup, and everything else.
It'd be so easy. It really would.
It would.
Like every time there was an event coming up, I was like, they could just open with a giant thing about PS1, and everyone would be in.
Yeah.
They could
It's so many things like that.
go get that motherfucker who keeps shit posting about Bloodborne and get some backwards compatibility going.
Yeah.
Go get him and say, here's an office and people and money.
Yeah. Not that he really needs it. It could barely it would barely need like 2 months of work to get running by like him and Durante or whatever.
All right.
If even.
It's so insane that he's just posting, yeah, I got this game to run at 120. Yeah, on the PS5. Yeah, I got this game to run at 120 on the PS5.
Yeah.
Go to him and say, hey, we'll pay you for this and we'll sell it as a patch. We'll give it as a patch. We'll give it out as a patch.
Right, because
Like,
that adds value
why-
to the back compat.
like,
I would be so much more excited about Gravity Rush 2 if it ran at 90 frames per second. That's insane.
Bloodborne trends every other week, and somehow Sony hasn't done that.
Yeah, I'm laying that at Jim Ryan's feet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
He
Absolutely.
must be insane. He must be like, oh, but Bloodborne only sold like 3-4 million copies. We sell 20 million copies here at Sony. Fuck that game. Never mind the fucking cultural impact it had and how excited people would be for a version that didn't have wrong frame pacing.
So, yeah, about how The Last of Us Part 1 is also Jim Ryan's fault.
Yeah. No, any reasonable CEO would have just nipped that in the bud.
$70.
Yeah.
You played that. We saw that. $70. That's insane.
Yeah, no, that only hurts the image of Sony.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just slap out the old game with a PS5 box, and you can charge us like $10 or something. That's what people want when they watch the TV show.
Right.
They don't need
Like,
this.
It's really hard to overstate like the what the fuck is coming out, Jim Ryan. Well, all we're going to talk about is Horizon and Naughty Dog has hurt Sony's fucking image. Because if you don't like Horizon and Naughty Dog, you fucking don't want to see those things. Like, there's not a lot of middle ground with those two, I feel like.
You know what's funny?
No.
Another initiative of Jim's is that every studio needs to be making 2 games. I wonder if that's delayed any of them. Like Ghost, even Sucker Punch is supposed to transition to be capable of making 2
I
games.
forgot about that. Yeah. Like,
That
on
was
paper,
years ago.
that's an interesting idea, but in execution may be bad.
Yeah, I mean, these games are
I mean,
really
it's bad if-
complicated to make.
Right? I mean, we're not
Bad if
seeing
you're
things.
trying to expand, like if it's not like, okay, we're going to dial back how big these games need to be, split up your people, you can make 2 smaller scale games.
Right, like a Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Mm-hmm.
But not like a Ghost of Tsushima and whatever the hell else Sucker Punch has been working on that whole time. But I mean, making more than one game at a time, even just doing pre-development on the next game while you're making a game, is healthy.
Right.
But we haven't seen anything come of it. And it's been long enough. Anyways, don't listen to people in the future when they say what happened with Sony is because of COVID. That's bullshit. That is cope.
Oh, we got one last little piece of news.
Okay.
Samurai Showdown's rollback update got pushed out of this year.
Again?
Mm.
One day we'll have Samurai Showdown with rollback. One day.
That's it. That's it. We did it.
Yeah.
That was a big thing to mention. Tomorrow, the Gollum pre-show. Main event, the Wii Sports Olympics featuring Handsome Joe.
Hmm.
Featuring Wii Sports Resort. Ooh. please be excited. Lots of channel predictions I'm feeling on this one.
Probably.
There's, Wii Sports is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically as good as Red Steel 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're about as good. Correct. I'm really excited for this. I'm really excited for Gollum. Gollum probably won't get a full stream at any point because it's 12 hours long, and I cannot imagine that being insightful, interesting, or fun
No.
for the full 12 hours. So that's why it's a pre-show.
I'm very excited to see how decomposing that game is, though.
Gollum will literally be rotting with sores on his face, and we're like, oh man, this is too realistic. Aggro, what do you got going on?
I am going to try and claw my way through Baldur's Gate 3 without being too much of a chump. Because, man, when you start losing, you death spiral fast, and you know it's your fault, so you just feel sad.
Cool. Chris, what are you up to?
On Saturday, I'm going to stream a game code provided by Square Enix game, Infinity Strash, whatever the back half of that title is.
One moment.
Infinity Strash Dragon Quest, The Adventure of Dai. Game code provided by Square Enix. I will be playing that as long as I can stomach, because I have heard it is not very good, but we're going to see. I'll play that as long as I can stomach, and if that isn't very long, I'll do the Sonic Frontiers DLC that came out while we were recording this.
Cool. I also have been provided a game code for that game. I got it to install and had no other time because Commando won the Blessed Blondet Bowl. Blow. So we had to watch that. So if you're a GB Podcast patron, please look forward to Commando on Blessed Blondet sometime soonish. And Chris, I'll have to pass you the sound effect because they want you to play that sound. They love that sound. Square Enix is like, play the sound more, actually. Play it every 20 minutes. And I'm like, I feel like I'm not going to remember to do that exactly every 20 minutes.
I think it's funnier if I just imitate the sound every 20 minutes.
No, that's fair. Well, that's going to do it. We will see you guys tomorrow. But for big thing to mention, next week, goodbye. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of Big Thing to Mention, which is only possible because of you and your support over at patreon.com/GBpodcast, where you can get access to all sorts of commentary tracks for various things, extended to armchair devs and gamer premonition bits, and also watch the movie Isolation 119, the story about a man who wanted a tax cut as he went to Thailand, and his brother's injuring was the plot of the movie, but the brother, I don't know, it's not clear. He seems to forget what that's all about, but then he starts crushing beer cans and beating up mechs that broke. Patreon.com/GBpodcast.